So here's the thing about Arc machines in Arc Raiders. Every single one of these mechanical nightmares was built with a specific purpose in mind, and understanding why they exist reveals the entire story of what happened to our world and what the Arc actually wants. Before I move forward, I'm counting on you to support my channel by clicking that tiny subscribe button so that we can spread these amazing videos to folks like you around the world. Thank you. When I started putting this video together, I realized that most Arc Raiders content focuses on combat tactics or gameplay mechanics. What's missing is the bigger picture, the why behind these machines. So I made a deliberate choice to organize this lore not by machine size or threat level, but by function, by purpose. That means we're going to explore what each Arc unit was designed to accomplish within the larger Arc intelligence network. Some of the connections I'm drawing here are interpretations based on in-game observations and lore fragments. So think of this as one possible reading of the Arc's true intentions. Chapter 1. The Watchers. Surveillance and Detection Systems. The Arc didn't just invade our world with brute force. It came with eyes everywhere. The surveillance network represents the Arc's first and most critical function. Because before you can harvest, before you can eliminate threats, you need to know where everything is. The machines designed for detection and surveillance reveal something important about the Arc's intelligence. It doesn't just react to threats. It actively hunts for them. It studies them. It catalogs them. Let's start with the Snitch, because in many ways this small flying drone represents the Arc's philosophy in its purest form. The Snitch doesn't carry weapons. It doesn't need them. Its 3 rotors keep it mobile and difficult to hit, but its real power lies in what it does when it spots you. The Snitch is a force multiplier. One Snitch can summon 2 wasps and a hornet within seconds of detecting a raider. This suggests the Arc operates on a distributed intelligence model. Individual units don't need to be powerful if they can instantly coordinate with more dangerous machines. The design of the Snitch points toward efficiency. Why waste resources arming a scout drone when you can dedicate those resources to making it faster, more maneuverable, and equipped with better detection systems? The Arc clearly understands resource allocation in ways that suggest advanced strategic thinking. Every machine serves a specific role, and the Snitch's role is to be the Arc's eyes and voice. When you destroy a Snitch before it can call for help, you're not just preventing reinforcements, you're creating a blind spot in the Arc's surveillance network. But the Snitch isn't operating alone in the surveillance ecosystem. The Surveyor, despite being the largest of the rolling Arc units, rarely engages in combat. Instead, it periodically stops to transmit signals. This behavior tells us something crucial about how Arc machines communicate. The Surveyor isn't just scouting an area and reporting back to some central hub. It's actively maintaining the communication network itself. Think of it as a mobile relay station, ensuring that signals from other Arc units can reach their destinations, even in areas where the network infrastructure might be damaged or incomplete. The Surveyor's tendency to run away from raiders rather than fight supports this interpretation. Its value to the Arc network lies not in its combat capability, but in its role as a communications node. Losing a Surveyor means creating gaps in the Arc's ability to coordinate its forces. This suggests that targeting Surveyors should be a priority for raiders who want to operate in areas without constant Arc reinforcements. Disrupt the communications network, and you disrupt the Arc's ability to function as a unified intelligence. Now consider the Turret, a small, unarmored, rotating unit that constantly scans for movement inside buildings. The turret's placement is deliberate and reveals the Arc's understanding of human behavior. Raiders need shelter. They need enclosed spaces where they can rest, plan, and feel temporarily safe. The Arc knows this, and the turret exists to deny raiders that safety. By placing these scanning units on walls inside buildings, the Arc ensures that no interior space can truly be considered secure. The turret's constant scanning behavior also suggests something about Arc priorities. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't take breaks. It represents the Arc's tireless nature, its ability to maintain vigilance long after human combatants would need rest. This psychological warfare aspect of Arc machine design shouldn't be underestimated. The knowledge that every building might contain a turret, that nowhere is truly safe, wears down raider morale over time. The Sentinel takes the surveillance concept and elevates it, quite literally, These unarmored sniper turrets sit atop buildings and ledges, always positioned high above the battlefield. The Sentinel's placement points toward the Ark's sophisticated understanding of tactical advantage. High ground provides superior sightlines, longer engagement ranges, and protection from most ground-based threats. By positioning sentinels on rooftops and elevated positions, the Ark creates overlapping fields of fire that make approaching any Ark-controlled area extremely dangerous. What's interesting about the Sentinel is its vulnerability. That small capsule attached to its swiveling arm represents a weak point, a deliberate design choice that suggests the Ark accepts certain trade-offs. The Sentinel sacrifices durability for range and positioning advantages. This implies that the Ark's design philosophy includes calculated risks, accepting that some units will be more vulnerable in exchange for increased effectiveness in their specific roles. The Sentinel can eliminate raiders from distances where return fire is difficult or impossible, making the risk of that exposed capsule worthwhile. The placement patterns of Sentinels reveal even more about Ark strategy. They're always found outside, always very high up. This isn't random. The Ark is denying raiders the ability to move safely in open areas near Ark-controlled structures. Any raider crossing open ground near a building with a Sentinel becomes a target. This forces raiders into predictable routes, channeling their movement into areas where other Ark units can more easily engage them. The Sentinel isn't just a sniper. It's a piece in a larger tactical puzzle, working with other Ark units to control territory and limit raider options. The surveillance network, taken as a whole, reveals sophisticated strategic thinking. The snitch provides mobile reconnaissance and calls for rapid response. The surveyor maintains communications infrastructure. The turret denies interior security. The Sentinel controls exterior approaches. Each machine has a specific role, and together they create a surveillance net that's difficult to evade. This level of coordination points towards centralized intelligence directing distributed assets. But here's where things get interesting. If the Ark is this intelligent, this coordinated, why does it need different types of surveillance machines? Why not create one perfect scout that can do everything? The answer might lie in adaptability and redundancy. Different surveillance machines excel in different environments. The snitch for open areas and aerial reconnaissance, the turret for interior spaces, the Sentinel for long-range exterior observation, the surveyor for maintaining network connections. By distributing these functions across multiple machine types, the Ark ensures that losing any one type doesn't cripple its entire surveillance capability. This redundancy suggests the Ark learned from experience or was designed by something that understood warfare at a deep level. Single points of failure are vulnerabilities. Distributed systems are resilient. If raiders develop tactics specifically optimized for destroying snitches, the turrets and sentinels continue functioning. If interior spaces become too dangerous for turrets, the snitches and sentinels maintain exterior surveillance. The Ark's surveillance network is designed to survive targeted countermeasures. The psychological impact of constant surveillance can't be overstated. Raiders operate knowing they might be watched at any moment. This changes behavior. It makes people cautious, slow, hesitant. It prevents the kind of bold, aggressive tactics that might otherwise allow raiders to seize objectives quickly. The Ark doesn't just use surveillance to gather intelligence. It uses surveillance as a weapon that undermines raider effectiveness by forcing them to always assume they're being observed. Consider how snitches change the tactical landscape. Every engagement with a snitch becomes a race against time. Can you destroy it before it calls for help? If you engage the snitch with loud weapons, are you revealing your position to other nearby Ark units? The snitch forces raiders to make difficult choices under pressure. This decision forcing is a form of battlefield control, pushing raiders into mistakes and exposing them to greater danger. The surveyor's behavior of stopping to transmit suggests the Ark communication system might operate in bursts rather than continuous streams. This could indicate bandwidth limitations or energy conservation strategies. If surveyors need to periodically relay information rather than transmitting constantly, it implies the Ark network has constraints, technical limitations that shape how the machines operate. This is important because limitations create vulnerabilities that informed raiders might exploit. Turret placement inside buildings on walls suggests the Ark has detailed intelligence about human behavior in structures. The Ark knows that humans naturally look forward and at floor level more than they look up at walls and ceilings. By mounting turrets in these less observed positions, the Ark exploits human perceptual biases. This level of understanding points toward either extensive study of human targets or machine learning algorithms that identified optimal placement through trial and observation. The Sentinel's consistent outdoor placement high above ground suggests constraints in the Ark's ability to deploy these units. Perhaps Sentinels require specific mounting conditions or need clear sightlines that make interior deployment impractical. Or maybe the Ark deliberately keeps Sentinels outside to prevent raiders from using buildings as complete shelter. By ensuring that even building exteriors remain under observation, the Ark maintains pressure on raiders wherever they go. The vulnerability of the Sentinel's capsule invites questions about Ark design philosophy. Why create such an obvious weak point? One possibility is that the capsule contains essential components that can't be heavily armored without significantly increasing weight and reducing mobility. Another possibility is that the Ark accepts higher unit losses in exchange for maintaining production efficiency. Heavily armored Sentinels might require rare materials or complex manufacturing, while the current design can be produced quickly and in large numbers. The fact that snitches summon specific combinations of units, 2 Wasps and 1 Hornet, points towards standardized response protocols. The Ark doesn't improvise or adapt its response to the specific threat level. It follows programmed procedures. This suggests the Ark intelligence, while sophisticated in many ways, might operate within rigid parameters in others. Understanding these patterns and protocols gives raiders exploitable knowledge. If you know exactly what a snitch will summon, you can prepare specifically for that threat. The surveillance network's existence raises bigger questions about the Ark's ultimate purpose. Why does the Ark need such extensive surveillance? What is it looking for? The most obvious answer is that it's hunting raiders, trying to eliminate the human resistance. But the surveyor's signal transmission and the Ark probe's ground scanning behavior, which we'll discuss later, suggest the Ark might be searching for something specific, something beyond just identifying human targets. The integration of surveillance machines with combat units reveals sophisticated combined arms tactics. A snitch spots raiders and summons wasps, and a hornet. A spotter marks raiders for the bombardier. This coordination between reconnaissance and strike capabilities mirrors advanced military doctrine. The Ark operates like a military force, with clear understanding of how different unit types should support each other. This level of tactical sophistication suggests the Ark either evolved from military technology or was designed by entities with extensive warfare knowledge. The evolution of Ark surveillance might tell us something about the timeline of the invasion. Perhaps early Ark machines had less sophisticated surveillance capabilities, and the current network represents iterative improvements based on operational experience. If the Ark can learn and adapt its designs, that implies ongoing development somewhere. Some facility or intelligence, still creating new machine variants or upgrading existing ones. The Shredder, mentioned as a new unit appearing in Stella Montis, supports this theory of ongoing Ark evolution. The density of surveillance coverage in different areas might indicate Ark priorities. Areas with more snitches, turrets, and sentinels are areas the Ark considers more important. This could relate to strategic resources, proximity to Ark facilities, or historical significance as sites where raiders previously operated successfully. By studying surveillance density patterns, raiders might identify what the Ark considers valuable and worth protecting. The maintenance requirements for a surveillance network this extensive must be substantial. Turrets need power. Snitches need whatever energy source enables flight. Sentinels need ammunition for their sniper weapons. This implies logistical systems supporting Ark operations. Supply chains that keep surveillance machines functional. Disrupting these logistics could be more effective than destroying individual surveillance units. Cut the supply chain, and the surveillance network gradually degrades as machines run out of power or ammunition. The fear factor of constant surveillance extends beyond immediate tactical concerns. Raiders returning to settlements carry the psychological weight of always being watched, always being hunted. This affects community morale, family dynamics, and the willingness of new raiders to join the resistance. The Ark surveillance network wages psychological warfare on an entire surviving human population, not just active combatants. This suggests the Ark's goals might include not just eliminating resistance, but suppressing any possibility of resistance emerging. The interaction between different surveillance types reveals redundancy and overlap that make the network resilient. If a turret inside a building is destroyed, a snitch might detect the raiders who destroyed it. If a sentinel is eliminated, turrets inside nearby buildings might detect the sniper team responsible. This defensive depth means that attacking Ark surveillance often reveals your position to other Ark units, creating a tactical dilemma where passively avoiding surveillance might be safer than actively engaging it. The data collected by surveillance machines must flow somewhere. Individual units observe and transmit, but something processes that information and coordinates responses. This central intelligence, or distributed intelligence network, represents a target that raiders rarely see or can directly engage. The visible surveillance machines are just sensors feeding information to something larger, something that makes strategic decisions and allocates Ark resources across vast territories. The silence of surveillance machines is worth noting. Snitches don't announce their presence, turrets scan quietly. Sentinels wait motionless until targets appear. This stealth in surveillance operations maximizes effectiveness by preventing raiders from knowing when they're being observed. The Ark understands that obvious surveillance provokes countermeasures, while hidden surveillance yields better intelligence. This subtlety suggests sophisticated understanding of intelligence gathering principles. The future of Ark surveillance might involve even more advanced detection methods. What if new Ark machines can detect raiders through walls or identify human heat signatures from extended ranges? The current surveillance network already poses significant challenges. Enhanced capabilities would make raider operations incredibly difficult. The appearance of new Ark variants like the Shredder suggests the Ark continues developing more effective machines. Future surveillance units might eliminate many of the blind spots and limitations of current systems. The relationship between surveillance and harvesting operations connects to the Ark's larger purpose. The harvester, protected by the Queen and surrounded by surveillance assets, suggests the Ark's primary mission involves harvesting something specific. The surveillance network exists not just to hunt raiders, but to locate whatever the Ark seeks to harvest. This harvesting objective might be the key to understanding the entire Ark invasion and the true purpose behind every machine type. The cost-benefit analysis of Ark surveillance investments indicates how highly the Ark values intelligence gathering. The resources devoted to building and maintaining countless snitches, turrets, sentinels, and surveyors could theoretically go toward producing more heavy combat units. That the Ark chooses extensive surveillance over pure combat power suggests intelligence and information provide greater strategic value than raw firepower. The Ark wins through knowing where targets are, not just through destroying them once found. The global scale of Ark surveillance operations raises questions about the scope of the invasion. How many surveillance machines exist worldwide? How many raiders are being tracked simultaneously? The logistics of maintaining planetary surveillance must be enormous, requiring vast resources and coordination. This implies the Ark possesses infrastructure and capabilities far beyond what raiders typically encounter in individual engagements. The visible Ark forces might represent a tiny fraction of the total machine population. The fragility of some surveillance units, particularly the Snitch's lack of armor, suggests confidence in the support network. The Ark doesn't need every snitch to survive because losing individual units doesn't significantly degrade overall surveillance capability. There are always more snitches, more turrets, more sentinels. This numerical superiority combined with rapid reinforcement capabilities makes the surveillance network extremely difficult to permanently disrupt. Raiders might clear an area, but Ark surveillance gradually returns. The specialization within surveillance machines points toward modular design philosophy. Rather than creating complex units that perform multiple roles adequately, the Ark builds simple units that excel at specific tasks. This modularity allows rapid production, easier repairs, and flexible deployment. A force of specialized machines coordinating effectively often outperforms a smaller number of generalist machines. The Ark's surveillance network demonstrates this principle through the distinct roles of snitches, turrets, sentinels, and surveyors, all working together toward complete battlefield awareness. The ending of the surveillance network's coverage represents the boundary of ARC control. Areas without snitches, without turrets or sentinels, might be territories the ARC hasn't reached yet or considers too low priority for surveillance assets. Identifying these surveillance gaps could reveal safe zones where raiders can operate more freely. However, the expanding nature of ARC presence suggests these gaps shrink over time as more surveillance machines deploy into previously uncovered areas. Chapter 2. The First Strike, Small-Scale Offensive Units. Once the ARC identifies targets through its surveillance network, it needs to eliminate them. The first wave of ARC response typically involves small offensive units designed for speed and overwhelming firepower relative to their size. These machines represent the ARC's answer to initial contact situations where rapid response matters more than sustained combat capability. Understanding these first strike units reveals how the ARC prioritizes threat elimination and what it considers acceptable losses. The Tick embodies the ARC's ambush philosophy. This small, unarmored machine hides inside buildings, clinging to walls or ceilings, waiting for raiders to enter its domain. The Tick's behavior suggests patient, opportunistic hunting. It doesn't patrol. It doesn't search actively. It waits. This waiting behavior might seem inefficient, but it actually represents sophisticated resource allocation. A Tick consumes minimal energy while waiting, making it an economical way to control interior spaces. One Tick can deny access to an entire room or building section simply through its presence and the threat it represents. When a Tick leaps at raiders and attempts to latch on, it's executing a high-risk, high-reward attack strategy. If the Tick successfully latches onto a raider, it can inflict significant damage at point-blank range, where the raider struggles to counterattack without risking self-injury. If the Tick's leap fails, or the raider kills it mid-air, the ARC loses one relatively cheap unit. The cost-benefit ratio favors deploying many Ticks rather than fewer, more durable units, because Ticks force raiders to approach every interior space cautiously, slowing their progress and exposing them to other threats. The psychological warfare aspect of Ticks can't be overstated. Every ceiling becomes a potential threat. Every shadow might hide a waiting machine. This constant tension exhausts raiders mentally, even if Ticks never actually attack. The anticipation of ambush proves as effective as the ambush itself in many situations. The ARC understands that making humans paranoid and hypervigilant serves strategic purposes beyond direct combat results. The POP takes the first strike philosophy in a different direction. This small, unarmored rolling ARC detonates when approached, transforming itself into an explosive that damages anything nearby. The POP's existence raises questions about ARC manufacturing efficiency and unit expendability. Each POP is, by design, a single-use weapon. The ARC builds these machines, knowing they will be destroyed after one successful engagement. This implies manufacturing capacity so vast that producing disposable machines makes economic sense. The POP's rolling behavior and proximity detonation suggest simple programming focused on a single task. Identify target, approach target, detonate near target. This simplicity makes POPs easy to produce and deploy in large numbers. From the ARC's perspective, even if only 1 in 10 POPs successfully damages raiders, the production cost makes the exchange worthwhile. The existence of POPs tells us the ARC values quantity over quality in certain tactical situations. Raiders encountering POPs face difficult choices. Engaging a POP from range wastes ammunition on a target that might have missed them anyway. Ignoring a POP risks unexpected detonation if it changes direction or if its proximity trigger is more sensitive than expected. Running from POPs marks your position for other ARC units through movement. The POP forces decision-making under pressure, and any decision could prove wrong. This decision forcing is part of the POP's effectiveness beyond its explosive payload. The Fireball advances the small rolling ARC concept by adding armored protection and a ranged attack capability. Unlike the POP's suicidal approach, the Fireball remains functional after engagement, shooting fire at raiders from relative safety. The armor means raiders must use more ammunition or more powerful weapons to destroy fireballs compared to pops. The fire attack creates area denial through burning ground or structures, forcing raiders out of covered positions. The choice to arm fireballs with fire weapons rather than conventional projectiles suggests specific arc goals. Fire spreads, creates smoke, obscures vision, and denies area access for extended periods. Fire panics humans in ways that bullets don't. The psychological impact of flames adds to the fireball's combat effectiveness. The Ark might have studied human psychology extensively to determine that fire weapons produce disproportionate fear responses compared to other damage types. The progression from pop to fireball represents evolving Ark doctrine within the small rolling unit category. The pop serves as disposable harassment and area denial. The fireball provides sustained fire support and area control. Together, they complement each other, with pops forcing movement and fireballs punishing that forced movement with fire attacks. This layered threat approach shows coordinated design philosophy, where different machine types work together synergistically. The Wasp demonstrates the Ark's understanding of aerial combat principles. This small, unarmored drone shoots light ammunition at raiders from above, exploiting three-dimensional battle space. The Wasp's lack of heavy armor suggests it's designed for swarm tactics rather than independent operation. One Wasp poses minimal threat to an armored raider. 5 Wasps attacking simultaneously from different angles create a serious problem. The Ark knows that numbers multiply effectiveness when units coordinate their attacks. The warning that Wasps are very rarely alone, that you should look for more Wasps or the bigger Hornet, tells us the Ark deploys these units in cooperative groups. This group deployment mirrors natural swarm behaviors seen in insects. The Ark might have studied biological swarm intelligence and adapted those principles to machine coordination. Or perhaps the resemblance to insect swarms is coincidental, emerging from similar constraints on individual unit capability and similar solutions to overwhelming opponents through numerical advantage. The Hornet serves as the Wasp's bigger brother, a medium-sized drone with 2 armored rotors on the front and presumably heavier weaponry. The Hornet's presence in Wasp groups suggests a command structure or hierarchy within Ark aerial units. Hornets might coordinate multiple Wasps, directing their attacks and ensuring the swarm maintains formation. The armor on Hornet rotors indicates this unit is designed to absorb damage that would destroy Wasps, keeping the commander functional even after support units are eliminated. The typical deployment pattern of Hornets, either patrolling skies with Wasps or guarding larger ground Ark units, reveals the Hornet's versatile role. It's not just an aerial combatant, it's security for high-value Ark assets. When you see a Hornet guarding a ground unit, that ground unit is important enough to warrant dedicated protection. This hierarchy of Ark values, expressed through which machines receive Hornet escorts, might help raiders identify priority targets worth the risk of engaging heavily defended positions. The Rocketeer represents a significant escalation in aerial threat level. This formidable flying Ark unit uses powerful rocket attacks with area of effect damage capabilities. Unlike Wasps and Hornets that pose primarily direct fire threats, the Rocketeer's area damage means you can't defeat it simply by dodging its attacks. The blast radius of rocket weapons makes cover less effective and forces raiders to maximize distance from impact points. The Rocketeer changes aerial combat from a precision shooting challenge to a desperate scramble for survival. The resources required to build and maintain a Rocketeer must exceed those needed for Wasps or Hornets. The payloads for rocket weapons, the guidance systems, the armor necessary to carry this equipment while remaining airborne, all suggest the Rocketeer is a premium unit deployed selectively. You won't see Rocketeers in the same numbers as Wasps because the Ark can't afford to produce them in quantity. This scarcity makes each Rocketeer encounter more significant. The Ark deployed this expensive asset for a specific reason. The combination of first strike units reveals layered defense strategies. Ticks inside buildings provide interior ambush potential. Pops create movement hazards and force hesitation fireballs, apply sustained pressure through fire attacks. Wasps harass from above. Hornets coordinate aerial swarms and guard ground forces. Rocketeers deliver devastating area damage when needed. Each unit type addresses different tactical scenarios, ensuring the ARC has appropriate responses to various raider behaviors. The speed of first strike responses indicates pre-positioning and constant readiness. When a snitch calls for help, wasps and a hornet arrive within seconds. This implies these aerial units patrol constantly or wait at ready status near surveilled areas. The logistics of maintaining ready response forces across the ARC's entire operational area must be substantial. There's probably a maximum response range beyond which wasps and hornets can't reach detected raiders quickly enough. Identifying these response range limitations might reveal safe operational distances from ARC surveillance nodes. The lack of armor on most first strike units, ticks, pops, wasps, and the unarmored status of snitches that call them, suggests the ARC accepts high attrition rates in initial engagements. These machines are expendable. Their purpose is to delay raiders, inflict some damage, and most importantly, keep raiders engaged until heavier ARC units arrive. First strike units are the sacrificial opening moves in ARC tactical playbook, trading cheap machines for time that allows repositioning of more valuable assets. The psychological impact of constant first strike harassment wears down raiders over time. Even if individual ticks, pops, or wasps don't inflict serious damage, the accumulated stress of constantly fighting off small attacks drains energy and resources. Ammunition spent on first strike units isn't available for later fights against heavier ARC machines. Medical supplies treating minor injuries from tick attacks or pop explosions can't treat major injuries from later Leaper or Bastion encounters. The ARC uses first strike units to degrade raider effectiveness before committed engagements. The diversity within first strike categories suggests specialized training or programming for different environments. Ticks excel at interior ambush. Pops work well in confined spaces or choke points. Fireballs control open areas where sustained fire creates barriers. Wasps and hornets dominate aerial approaches. This environmental specialization means raiders face optimally designed threats regardless of terrain or tactical situation. The ARC has thought through how to attack humans in every possible scenario. The evolution of first strike tactics might reveal learning within ARC intelligence. Do ticks adjust their hiding positions based on where previous ticks successfully or unsuccessfully ambushed raiders? Do pops modify their approach patterns if raiders consistently avoid them? If the ARC learns from engagements and updates first strike programming, it becomes a progressively more dangerous opponent. Static tactics can be countered, but an adaptive enemy requires constant tactical innovation from raiders. The coordination between first strike units and surveillance systems creates kill chains where detection leads smoothly to engagement. A snitch spots raiders, summons wasps and a hornet, and those aerial units push raiders toward positions where turrets have clean shots or into areas where ticks wait in ambush. This coordination transforms individual machine capabilities into combined arms effectiveness. The ARC operates as a unified force, not a collection of independent machines. The resource cost analysis of first strike doctrine reveals ARC priorities. Manufacturing many small, cheap, expendable units rather than fewer large, durable units suggests the ARC values operational tempo and ubiquitous presence over concentrated force. This doctrine works when you control manufacturing and can replace losses quickly. It fails if production capacity becomes limited, or if raiders develop tactics that efficiently eliminate first strike units while sustaining minimal losses. The fear of first strike units serves the ARC's larger strategic goals beyond immediate combat results. Raiders who fear ticks hesitate before entering buildings, slowing their operational pace. Fear of pops makes raiders waste time checking for ambushes. Fear of wasp swarms discourages open movement. These fears, even when the actual threats don't materialize, accomplish the ARC's goal of limiting raider effectiveness. The ARC wins through psychological operations as much as through direct military action. The variability in first strike encounters prevents raiders from developing universal countermeasures. Sometimes you face ticks, sometimes pops, sometimes fireball, sometimes flying units. This variability forces flexibility and adaptability. Raiders can't specialize in countering one threat type because they'll encounter different threats in the next engagement. The ARC's diverse first strike portfolio keeps raiders reactive rather than proactive. Chapter 3. Heavy Assault and Area Control. Moving beyond first strike harassment, The Ark deploys heavy units designed for sustained combat and area control. These machines represent significant resource investments and appear when the Ark commits to eliminating threats or protecting important assets. The presence of heavy Ark units indicates areas the Ark considers strategically vital or threats it deems serious enough to warrant overwhelming force. Understanding these heavy units reveals the Ark's priorities and what it considers worth defending. The Leaper embodies the Ark's heavy assault philosophy through its spider-like design and extreme mobility. This large, heavily armored machine can jump extreme distances and heights, allowing it to traverse terrain that would stop ground-bound units. The Leaper's shockwave ability delivers heavy damage in a radius, making close-quarters combat suicide for raiders. The combination of armor, mobility, and area of effect attacks makes the Leaper one of the most dangerous Ark units in direct combat. The design choice of making the Leaper spider-like suggests biomimicry in Ark engineering. Spiders inspire fear in many humans, and the psychological impact of a giant robotic spider jumping toward you can't be dismissed. The Ark might deliberately design machines to exploit human fears and phobias, or the spider configuration might simply provide optimal stability and mobility for a jumping heavy unit. Either explanation reveals sophisticated design thinking. The Leaper's jump capability changes tactical dynamics fundamentally. Raiders can't rely on terrain barriers or obstacles to provide safety from Leapers. That high wall or deep ravine that stops other Ark units means nothing to a Leaper. This terrain negation forces raiders to fight in open areas where they're vulnerable to other Ark units or risk Leaper ambushes in locations they previously considered safe. The Leaper expands the Ark's operational area into terrain that should theoretically be inaccessible. The shockwave ability suggests the Leaper is designed for engaging multiple targets or breaking up concentrated raider groups. A group of raiders might successfully focus fire on other Ark units and destroy them quickly. That same group clustering together becomes vulnerable to one Leaper shockwave that damages everyone simultaneously. The Leaper punishes the concentration of force that raiders need to eliminate heavy Ark units, creating a tactical paradox where both dispersing and concentrating forces carry significant risks. The Bastion represents the Ark's commitment to sustained firepower. This hulking, heavily armored machine houses a fully automatic minigun capable of suppressing entire areas through sheer volume of fire. The warning about air support that normally accompanies Bastions reveals coordinated tactics where ground and aerial units work together to eliminate raiders. The Bastion provides ground-based fire support, while aerial units prevent raiders from maneuvering to flanking positions or cover. The minigun's automatic fire capability means the Bastion can engage multiple targets rapidly or maintain sustained fire on a single target until it's destroyed. This versatility makes Bastions effective against both individual high-value targets and groups of raiders. The ammunition capacity required to feed a minigun must be substantial, implying significant logistical support for Bastion operations. These machines probably can't operate indefinitely without resupply, suggesting vulnerability periods when ammunition runs low. The heavy armor on Bastions makes them difficult targets for raider weapons. Small arms fire probably bounces off harmlessly. Even heavier weapons might require sustained accurate fire to penetrate Bastion armor. This durability means Bastions can advance through hostile fire, closing distance to engagement range, while absorbing damage that would destroy lighter Ark units. The psychological impact of watching your attacks fail against Bastion armor can break raider morale before the Bastion even fires its minigun. The mention that air support normally accompanies Bastions and assists in suppressing raider mobility reveals sophisticated combined arms tactics. Ground units and aerial units working together multiply each other's effectiveness. The Bastion's minigun forces raiders into cover or movement. Aerial units catch raiders during that forced movement. Raiders trying to counter aerial units lose focus on the Bastion. This tactical dilemma, created by coordinated ground-air operations, makes Bastion encounters extremely dangerous. The Spotter introduces another dimension to Ark-heavy tactics. This unarmed machine laser marks raiders within line of sight, allowing the bombardier to accurately target them. The Spotter's existence reveals the Ark uses forward observer tactics similar to human artillery operations. Direct fire weapons have range limitations. Indirect fire weapons like mortars or artillery can engage targets beyond visual range if something provides targeting information. The spotter fills this targeting role, transforming the bombardier from a limited area denial weapon into a precision strike system. The fact that spotters are unarmed suggests specialization taken to an extreme. The spotter does one thing, marking targets, and does it well enough that it doesn't need weapons for self-defense. This implies spotters operate under protection from other ARC units or in locations where raiders can't easily reach them. Destroying a spotter becomes a priority target because eliminating it degrades bombardier effectiveness significantly. However, attacking spotters often requires exposing yourself to other ARC units defending them. The laser marking system used by spotters must operate in real time for bombardiers to hit moving targets. This suggests sophisticated communication and data sharing between ARC units. The spotter isn't just calling out coordinates, it's providing continuous updates on target location, allowing bombardiers to lead moving targets and adjust fire based on raider behavior. This real-time targeting network represents advanced information warfare capabilities that make coordinated ARC attacks extremely difficult to evade. The bombardier unleashes mortars at exposed raiders, leveraging indirect fire to attack targets behind cover or at extended ranges. The bombardier's dependence on spotters for accurate targeting creates a two-unit system that functions effectively only when both components work together. This partnership reveals vulnerability. Eliminate the spotter and the bombardier loses precision. Eliminate the bombardier and the spotter becomes a harmless observer. Breaking the targeting chain is often more effective than trying to destroy both units simultaneously. The term exposed raiders in the bombardier's description suggests its targeting priorities. Raiders behind hard cover or inside structures probably can't be effectively engaged. Raiders in open areas or behind soft cover become prime targets. This targeting preference means the bombardier functions as area denial for open spaces, forcing raiders to either accept mortar fire or move into structures where other ARC units like ticks and turrets wait. The bombardier collaborates with other ARC machines to channel raiders into kill zones. The mortar weapons used by bombardiers indicate the ARC has solved ballistic calculation challenges or uses advanced targeting systems. Hitting moving targets with indirect fire requires complex mathematics accounting for distance, elevation, target velocity, and projectile flight time. The ARC apparently performs these calculations in real time with sufficient accuracy to threaten experienced raiders. This computational capability suggests the ARC's processing power exceeds simple autonomous machine operation and ventures into sophisticated battle management. The coordination between spotters and bombardiers mirrors human artillery tactics developed over centuries of warfare. The ARC either learned these tactics through studying human military history or independently developed similar solutions to similar problems. If the ARC learned from humans, it implies access to military databases or observation of human combat operations. If the ARC developed these tactics independently, it suggests convergent evolution in warfare, where optimal solutions emerge regardless of whether the combatants are human or machine. The deployment patterns of heavy ARC units reveal territorial control strategies. Leapers provide mobile heavy assault capability that responds to threats anywhere within their operational range. Bastions anchor defensive positions, creating zones of fire superiority that raiders struggle to cross. Spotter-bombardier pairs establish indirect fire coverage over critical areas. The combination creates layered defenses, where each unit type compensates for others' weaknesses. The resource investment in heavy units suggests the ARC prioritizes certain areas or objectives over others. Not every location receives bastion coverage or leaper patrols. The ARC concentrates heavy forces where expected threats are highest or where assets are most valuable. Mapping the deployment density of heavy units might reveal the ARC's strategic priorities, showing raiders where the ARC commits significant resources and therefore what the ARC values most. The maintenance requirements for heavy units probably exceed those of first strike machines. Leapers need powerful actuators for jumping. Bastions need ammunition resupply for their miniguns. Bombardiers need mortar shells. Spotters need power for laser targeting systems. This logistics tale means heavy units probably operate from forward bases or support facilities where maintenance and resupply occur. Identifying and disrupting these support facilities could degrade heavy unit operational effectiveness more efficiently than direct combat. The evolution of heavy unit tactics over time might indicate learning within ARC strategic intelligence. Do leapers adjust their jump patterns based on which approaches successfully closed with raiders? Do Bastionnaire support coordination tactics evolve as raiders develop countermeasures? If heavy units adapt their behavior based on combat experience, they become progressively more difficult opponents. Static defense or attack patterns allow raiders to develop counter tactics. Adaptive patterns require constant tactical innovation. The psychological impact of heavy unit encounters affects raider decision-making beyond immediate combat. Raiders who survived leaper attacks might avoid certain terrain types where leapers operate effectively. Raiders who experienced bastion suppression might hesitate before crossing open areas even when bastions aren't present. This learned caution, while sometimes prudent, can also limit raider operational flexibility and prevent bold actions that might succeed against lighter ARC forces. The question of whether heavy units operate autonomously or receive direction from central intelligence remains unclear. The coordination between spotters and bombardiers suggests communication capability, but does a central intelligence direct their targeting priorities? Do leapers receive instructions on which targets to engage first? Or do individual heavy units assess situations and make independent tactical decisions? The level of autonomy versus centralized control reveals different vulnerabilities in the ARC system. The future development of ARC heavy units might include even more dangerous variants. If the Shredder represents new ARC development appearing in specific locations, other new heavy units might appear elsewhere. The ARC's ability to develop new machine types suggests ongoing research and development somewhere within the machine intelligence network. This capacity for innovation makes the ARC a long-term threat that won't be defeated by countering current machine types. New units will require new tactics. The symbolism of ARC heavy units extends beyond their combat function. They represent the ARC's power and inevitability. When raiders see a bastion or leaper, they're confronting the reality that the ARC commands resources far beyond anything remaining human forces can muster. This demoralization serves strategic purposes, convincing some raiders that resistance is futile and that survival requires submission or flight rather than fight. The ARC wages psychological warfare through its heavy units even more than physical warfare. The deployment speed of heavy units to threatened areas indicates how seriously the ARC takes different threat types. First strike units arrive quickly but are expendable. Heavy units probably take longer to reach engagement zones, but represent committed force that the ARC expects to decisively resolve situations. The transition from first strike harassment to heavy unit commitment marks the point where the ARC shifts from probing to eliminating. Raiders who survive long enough to see heavy units deploy have graduated from annoyance to serious threat in the ARC's threat assessment. The combined effectiveness of heavy units working together exceeds their individual capabilities significantly. A lone leaper is dangerous. A leaper working with a bastion and air support is potentially unstoppable for many raider groups. The ARC understands combined arms warfare at a level suggesting either extensive combat experience or sophisticated strategic programming. These machines don't just fight, they fight intelligently, exploiting synergies between different unit types. The resource cost of fielding heavy units implies the ARC has manufacturing capacity that dwarfs anything humans retain. One bastion probably costs as much to produce as dozens of pops or wasps. That the ARC can field multiple bastions, multiple leapers, and coordinated spotter bombardier teams simultaneously across a wide operational area suggests industrial capacity operating at a scale that's difficult for humans to comprehend. The ARC isn't just winning through better tactics, it's winning through overwhelming material superiority. The areas where heavy units deploy frequently might correspond to locations the ARC is actively harvesting or protecting harvester operations. The Queen guards the harvester during harvester events, representing the ultimate heavy unit deployment. This hierarchy from first strike to heavy to elite units like the Queen reveals how the ARC escalates force based on situation importance. Understanding this escalation pattern helps raiders assess how seriously the Ark takes different operational areas. Chapter 4: Elite Units and Special Purpose Machines. Beyond standard heavy assault units, the Ark deploys elite machines that represent the pinnacle of its combat capability or serve highly specialized functions. These units appear rarely during specific events or conditions, and their presence signals maximum Ark commitment to an objective. Understanding elite and special purpose machines provides insight into the Ark's ultimate goals and what it considers worth deploying its most powerful assets to achieve or protect. The Queen stands atop the Ark combat hierarchy as a very large unit armed with artillery pods and a devastating beam attack. The Queen appears only during harvester events, guarding the harvester itself. This exclusive deployment pattern tells us several things. First, the harvester is critically important to the Ark, important enough to warrant the Queen's protection. Second, the Queen is probably expensive or difficult to produce, making it unavailable for routine operations. Third, harvester events represent moments of maximum Ark vulnerability, when it must expose valuable assets, requiring maximum defensive commitment. The Queen's artillery pods suggest long-range bombardment capabilities that can saturate areas with explosive firepower. Raiders approaching the harvester must cross fields of fire from the Queen's artillery. This creates killing zones around the harvester where survival becomes extremely difficult. The beam attack provides precision damage for targets that penetrate the artillery perimeter, ensuring the Queen can engage threats at any range from maximum distance down to close quarters. The description of the Queen as incredibly durable and lethal confirms its status as an elite unit. Standard raider weapons probably can't damage the Queen significantly. Destroying a Queen likely requires coordinated attacks from multiple well-equipped raider teams using their most powerful weapons. Even then, the Queen's defensive capabilities and the fact that it operates alongside other Ark forces make successful eliminations rare achievements. The Queen represents a hard stop for most raider operations, a wall that can't be overcome without exceptional preparation and resources. The matriarch takes the elite unit concept even further. Described as an imposing Ark machine that makes the Queen look friendly, the matriarch appears during specific map conditions. This conditional appearance suggests the matriarch's deployment is tied to specific Ark operations or phases of the Ark's larger plan. What map conditions trigger matriarch appearances? Are these conditions environmental, temporal, or related to specific Ark activities? The answer might reveal when the Ark conducts its most critical operations. The comparison to the Queen tells us the matriarch's capabilities exceed even the Queen's. If the Queen is incredibly durable and lethal, the matriarch must be catastrophically dangerous. This suggests a hierarchy within Ark forces where the matriarch commands even the Queen. Perhaps the matriarch appears during operations too important to risk with only Queen-level protection. Or maybe the matriarch serves functions beyond combat, coordinating Ark forces across regions or managing aspects of the Ark's mission that require supreme authority. The Shredder's introduction in Stellamontis as a unit challenging raiders in close-quarter encounters reveals ongoing Ark development and adaptation. The Shredder apparently specializes in close-quarters combat, addressing a tactical niche where other Ark units might be less effective. This suggests the Ark identified limitations in its current machine roster and developed the Shredder to fill those gaps. The fact that the Shredder appears first in a specific location implies controlled deployment, possibly testing the unit's effectiveness before wider distribution. The Shredder's close-quarter specialization creates new threats for raiders who previously felt relatively safe in tight interior spaces. If earlier Ark units struggled in close quarters, raiders might have developed tactics exploiting this weakness, using buildings and confined spaces as advantages. The Shredder eliminates that advantage, forcing raiders to rethink tactics they previously relied on. This tactical adaptation shows the Ark as a learning opponent that identifies and counters effective raider strategies. The Harvester itself, while not a combat unit in the traditional sense, represents perhaps the most important machine in the Ark's arsenal. The Harvester is the reason for Harvester events. It's what the Queen guards with her full military might. The Harvester possesses its own electric and fire defense systems, suggesting it's not entirely helpless despite requiring queen protection. What the harvester harvests and why this harvesting is critical to the Ark remains one of the central mysteries of the Ark invasion. The harvester's defenses indicate it expects to be attacked and must continue operations even under fire. Electric and fire defense systems probably create perimeters of damaging energy that raiders must penetrate to reach the harvester itself. These automated defenses complement the Queen's active protection, creating multiple layers of defense that make harvester assault extremely risky. The Ark clearly anticipates that humans will attempt to disrupt harvesting operations and has engineered multiple countermeasures. The Ark probe introduces another specialized unit designed for specific non-combat purposes. These static lootable machines scan the ground, attempting to find Speranza. Celeste's warning that bad things happened when others were found adds mystery and danger to Ark probes. What is Speranza? Why does the Ark seek it so desperately? What bad things occurred when previous Speranza were located? These questions connect directly to understanding the Ark's ultimate purpose. The fact that Ark probes are always accompanied by two spotters suggests these ground scanning operations are vulnerable and important enough to warrant protection. The spotters presumably mark raiders who approach Ark probes, either warning off intruders or calling for reinforcements. This defense allocation indicates the Ark values probe operations highly. Whatever Speranza is, finding it matters enough to dedicate military resources to protecting the search. The static nature of Ark probes implies they can't operate while moving or need stable positioning for accurate ground scanning. This creates temporary Ark installations wherever probes deploy. Raiders might encounter probe sites that function as mini fortresses, with spotters providing overwatch and presumably other Ark units nearby for defense. Disrupting probe operations could interfere with the Ark's search for Speranza, potentially slowing its progress toward whatever goal requires finding Speranza. The connection between harvester operations, Ark probes seeking Speranza, and the larger Ark mission starts forming a picture. Perhaps the Ark harvests resources it needs to continue operations or expand its presence. Perhaps Speranza are specific resources or artifacts the Ark requires for some ultimate purpose. The intensity of Ark defense around harvesters and the allocation of spotters to probe protection suggests these operations are central to why the Ark invaded in the first place. The Queen and Matriarch's roles as guardians of critical Ark assets reveal a defensive doctrine where the Ark's most powerful units protect rather than attack. This seems counterintuitive until you consider that the Ark's mission might be primarily economic or resource-focused rather than purely military. The Ark doesn't need to conquer humanity, it needs to harvest whatever it came for. Military units exist to protect that harvesting operation from human interference. Viewed this way, every Ark combat machine serves the larger goal of enabling successful harvesting. The appearance of elite units during specific conditions or events suggests the Ark operates on a schedule or follows a plan that unfolds in phases. Matriarchs appear during specific map conditions. Queens appear during harvester events. Shredders emerge in particular locations. This pattern deployment indicates coordination at a strategic level where the Ark allocates elite resources according to a predetermined timeline or operational plan. Understanding this pattern might allow raiders to predict when and where elite units will appear. The rarity of elite unit encounters means most raiders lack experience fighting them. The knowledge base for countering queens, matriarchs, or even understanding shredder capabilities remains thin. This information gap gives the Ark an advantage where elite units retain mystery and unknown capabilities that raiders can't prepare for. Each elite unit encounter becomes a learning experience, though many raiders don't survive to share that knowledge. The evolution from standard to heavy to elite units mirrors military organizational structures where different units serve different purposes in a larger force structure. The Ark has effectively created a combined arms force with light infantry equivalents in ticks and pops, armor equivalents in bastions and leapers, artillery equivalents in bombardiers, and strategic assets in queens and matriarchs. This military sophistication suggests the Ark either originated from human military technology or studied human warfare extensively. The psychological impact of elite unit sightings affects entire raider communities. Word spreads when someone encounters a queen or matriarch and survives. These encounters become legendary, discussed in settlements, and used as benchmarks for measuring danger levels. The Ark gains psychological warfare benefits from elite units simply through their reputation, even in areas where they've never appeared. The fear of potentially encountering a matriarch can deter raider operations as effectively as actual matriarch presence. The question of whether elite units are unique or exist in multiples remains unclear. Is there one queen, or are there multiple queens deployed at different harvester sites? Is the matriarch a singular entity, or do multiple matriarchs operate across different regions? The answer affects how raiders think about threat levels and whether eliminating elite units provides lasting relief or merely temporary reduction in Ark capability. If elite units can be replaced, destroying one accomplishes less than if they're irreplaceable. The technological sophistication displayed by elite units suggests the Ark's capabilities extend beyond what raiders typically encounter. If the Ark can build queens with devastating beam weapons and artillery pods, what other technologies might it possess, but not yet deploy? The Ark might deliberately limit its displayed capabilities, using only as much force as necessary to accomplish objectives. Full Ark capabilities might dwarf even elite unit performance, a sobering thought for anyone hoping humanity might eventually match Ark technology. The resource requirements for elite units must be staggering. A queen probably requires more materials, energy, and manufacturing capacity than dozens or hundreds of smaller units. The Ark's willingness to build and deploy these expensive machines indicates either abundant resources or desperation to protect critical operations. Either explanation suggests the Ark's goals are important enough to justify massive expenditures. Understanding those goals becomes crucial for determining whether raiders can meaningfully oppose them or merely delay the inevitable. The special purpose machines like harvesters and Ark probes reveal that the Ark's mission extends beyond military domination. These machines serve economic or research functions, suggesting the Ark operates with civilian and military components working together. This complexity implies governmental or organizational structures within the Ark, hierarchies of purpose and command that determine which operations receive priority and how resources are allocated. The Ark might not be a unified intelligence, but rather a civilization or entity with internal structures and competing priorities. The timing of harvester events, presumably coordinated moments when harvesters deploy under Queen protection, suggests logistical constraints on Ark operations. The Ark can't harvest continuously everywhere. It must select locations and times for harvesting, concentrating forces to protect these operations. This limitation creates opportunities for raiders to interfere with Ark plans if they can identify when and where harvester events will occur. Disrupting even one harvester event might delay the Ark's timeline significantly. The bad things that happened when previous Speranza were found, according to Celeste, adds ominous implications to Ark probe operations. Did the Ark gain significant capabilities or advantages from finding Speranza? Did finding Speranza allow the Ark to accelerate its operations or unlock new machine types? The warning suggests that preventing Ark probes from completing their mission should be a raider priority. Every Speranza the Ark finds might bring it closer to accomplishing its ultimate goal. The integration of elite and special purpose machines into the larger Ark force structure shows sophisticated strategic planning. Standard units provide presence and basic security. Heavy units respond to serious threats. Elite units protect critical operations. Special purpose machines execute the core mission. This hierarchy of function creates a resilient system where losing standard units doesn't compromise core operations as long as elite and special units survive. The Ark designed a force structure that accepts casualties in routine operations while protecting what truly matters. The existence of different Ark machine tiers suggests production lines or facilities specializing in different unit types. Facilities producing ticks and pops probably differ from facilities manufacturing queens or harvesters. Destroying a standard unit production facility might reduce Ark numbers, but won't stop elite unit deployment. Raiders hoping to meaningfully degrade Ark capability need to identify and target the sources of elite and special purpose machines, a goal far more difficult than destroying units in the field. The true Ark threat lies not in the machines raiders encounter, but in the industrial and intelligence infrastructure that produces those machines. Asterisk, Chapter 5, Communication Networks and Strategic Coordination. Asterisk. The true genius of the Ark isn't in individual machine capabilities, but in how these machines communicate and coordinate. Every Ark unit functions as part of a larger network where information flows between machines, enabling tactical decisions that would be impossible for isolated units. Understanding the Ark communication network reveals vulnerabilities that might be exploited and explains how the Ark achieves military effectiveness that exceeds what individual machine capabilities would suggest. The Surveyor's periodic signal transmission represents the most visible aspect of Ark communications. This large rolling unit stops regularly to send signals, maintaining the communications infrastructure across Ark-controlled territory. The fact that it needs to stop suggests these transmissions require significant power or bandwidth. The Ark apparently can't maintain continuous real-time communication with all units simultaneously, necessitating periodic data bursts that update the network with current intelligence and receive new operational directives. The implications of burst communication rather than continuous streaming are significant. If Ark units operate on periodically updated information rather than real-time data, there are gaps where the Ark's situational awareness is outdated. A raider moving between Surveyor transmission cycles might briefly operate outside Ark knowledge. These temporal gaps in awareness create opportunities for rapid movement and surprise attacks if raiders can time their operations to exploit communication windows. The range of Surveyor transmissions determines how densely the Ark must deploy these units. Longer range means fewer surveyors needed, but possibly with lower bandwidth or data quality. Shorter range requires more surveyors but might enable higher quality communications. The actual deployment density of surveyors raiders encounter in different areas might reveal the Ark's communication infrastructure limitations. Areas with many surveyors might be communication-intensive zones, where the Ark needs high bandwidth for coordinating complex operations. The snitch's ability to call for backup within seconds suggests a separate fast response communication system operating alongside the surveyor network. The snitch doesn't need to wait for the next surveyor transmission cycle. It has direct communication capability to summon wasps and a hornet immediately. This dual communication architecture, strategic data through surveyors and tactical alerts through direct channels, optimizes the Ark network for both long-term coordination and immediate response needs. The laser marking system used by spotters to guide bombardier fire represents another communication method optimized for specific tactical situations. Rather than transmitting complex targeting data through the communication network, the spotter simply paints targets with a laser that the bombardier's systems can detect directly. This line-of-sight communication bypasses potential network congestion or jamming, ensuring critical targeting data reaches the bombardier even if broader network communications are disrupted. The fact that different Ark machines use different communication methods suggests the network evolved over time or was designed with redundancy. Primary communication through surveyors, emergency alerts through units like snitches, line-of-sight systems like spotter lasers, all operating simultaneously. If one communication method fails, others provide backup. This redundancy makes the Ark network resilient against countermeasures that might disrupt a single communication type. The coordination between ground and aerial units, like bastions working with air support, requires real-time communication to be effective. The bastion needs to know where aerial units are positioned to avoid friendly fire. Aerial units need to coordinate their attacks with bastion fire to create tactical synergies. This coordination level suggests sophisticated data sharing where units continuously update each other on their positions, intended actions, and observed threats. The bandwidth required for this real-time coordination must be substantial. The question of whether Ark units communicate peer-to-peer or through a central hub affects network vulnerability. Peer-to-peer communication means each unit talks directly to nearby units, creating a distributed network that's difficult to completely disrupt. Hub-based communication means units report to central nodes that process information and issue commands, creating single points of failure that could potentially be targeted. The presence of surveyors suggests some centralization, but individual unit responsiveness implies peer-to-peer capability as well. The speed at which ARC reinforcements arrive after snitch alerts indicates pre-positioning based on network intelligence. The ARC doesn't randomly patrol with wasps and hornets everywhere. It positions aerial response units in locations where the communication network indicates they're most likely needed, based on radar activity patterns. This intelligent positioning optimizes ARC resources, ensuring response units can reach trouble spots quickly without needing overwhelming numbers everywhere simultaneously. The evolution of ARC communication technology over time might explain some of the diversity in machine types. Early ARC machines might have used simpler communication methods, and newer machines incorporate more advanced systems. The shredder appearing in Stella Montis might include communication capabilities superior to older ARC units, allowing better coordination or faster data processing. If the ARC continuously upgrades its communication technology, older machine types might gradually be phased out, as inferior units are replaced by more capable models. The information that ARC probes are always accompanied by two spotters suggests these probe operations require security alerts that spotters provide through their marking systems. The spotters probably communicate with nearby ARC forces, alerting them when raiders approach probe sites. This security architecture around probes indicates the ARC considers ground scanning operations vulnerable and implements layered defensive communications, ensuring threats are detected and reinforcements summoned before raiders can disrupt probe activities. The psychological warfare value of the ARC communication network extends beyond tactical coordination. Raiders know their actions are being reported, analyzed, and countered by a vast machine intelligence. This knowledge creates paranoia and fear that affects decision-making. Even when raiders can't see surveyors or snitches, they assume the ARC knows their location. This assumption of constant surveillance, whether accurate or not, shapes raider behavior in ways favorable to the ARC. The maintenance requirements for the communication network must be substantial. Surveyors need power for transmissions. Communication equipment in every ARC unit requires energy. The infrastructure supporting network operations probably includes relay stations, power generation facilities, and signal processing centers that raiders rarely encounter directly. Targeting this supporting infrastructure might degrade ARC network capability more effectively than destroying individual communicating units in the field. The security of ARC communications affects whether raiders could potentially intercept or decrypt machine signals. If ARC units communicate in encrypted formats that raiders can't decode, intercepted signals provide little intelligence value. If ARC communications lack encryption or use breakable codes, intercepted signals might reveal ARC plans and intentions. The sophistication of ARC encryption determines whether the communication network represents only tactical coordination capability or also an intelligence-gathering opportunity for technically capable raiders. The bandwidth limitations of ARC communications might explain some machine behaviors. If the network can only transmit limited data per transmission cycle, units must prioritize what information to send. A snitch reporting a contact probably sends just basic information like raider location and number. More detailed intelligence like raider equipment or capabilities might require multiple transmission cycles to communicate fully. These bandwidth constraints create information priorities that shape how the ARC responds to different situations. The range limits of ARC communications determine the maximum size of coordinated operations. If ARC units can only communicate effectively within certain ranges, large-scale coordinated attacks require multiple communication networks working together or strategic coordination established before units move beyond communication range. The geographical spread of surveyor deployment might reveal these range limitations, showing how far apart communication nodes can be while maintaining network integrity. The failure modes of ARC communications affect how units behave when network connections are lost. Do ARC units default to autonomous operation, following pre-programmed behaviors when they can't receive network instructions? Or do they become passive and ineffective without network guidance? Understanding these failure modes helps raiders assess whether disrupting communications significantly degrades ARC capability or merely forces units into standalone operation modes that might be equally dangerous. The integration of communication systems with surveillance capabilities creates a cycle where observation feeds the network, and network intelligence guides further observation. A turret spots raiders inside a building. It reports through the network. The network directs nearby snitches to investigate. The snitches confirm the contact and call for wasps and a hornet. The cycle of observe, report, respond, observe happens continuously, creating a dynamic intelligence picture that the ARC updates constantly based on machine observations. The hierarchy within ARC communications might mirror military command structures where strategic intelligence flows to decision-making entities, while tactical data stays at local levels. Surveyors might transmit strategic information about raider settlements, movement patterns, and resource locations to central ARC intelligence. Individual combat units might handle tactical communications locally, coordinating immediate attacks without requiring strategic-level approval. This separation of strategic and tactical communications optimizes network efficiency by preventing tactical chatter from overwhelming strategic bandwidth. The reliability of ARC communications affects how confidently the ARC can execute complex operations. If network communications are highly reliable with minimal lost messages or corrupted data, the ARC can plan intricate, coordinated attacks with tight timing. If communications are somewhat unreliable, the ARC must build redundancy and tolerance for failed coordination into its operational plans. The observed precision of ARC attacks suggests highly reliable communications that allow exact timing and positioning of multiple unit types. The future evolution of ARC communications might include technologies raiders haven't yet encountered. What if newer ARC units can communicate through methods that don't require line of sight or relay stations? What if the ARC develops quantum communication systems that can't be intercepted or jammed? Advanced communication technologies would multiply ARC effectiveness by enabling coordination at scales and speeds currently impossible. The appearance of new machine types like the Shredder might signal parallel advancement in communication capabilities that support new tactical options. The cost of maintaining the communication network represents a significant ARC resource investment. Every surveyor deployed to maintain communications is a surveyor not engaged in direct combat or harvesting operations. The resources spent on communication equipment in every ARC unit could theoretically be allocated to weapons or armor instead. That the ARC chooses robust communications over maximizing individual unit combat power reveals a strategic philosophy valuing coordination over raw firepower. The ARC wins through information superiority and coordinated action, not through overwhelming force from individual machines. The vulnerability of communication nodes like surveyors creates target priorities for raiders who understand network warfare. Destroying a surveyor doesn't just eliminate one ARC unit, it creates a communication gap that might isolate ARC forces in that area from network coordination. Systematic surveyor elimination could fragment the ARC network into isolated cells that can't coordinate with each other, significantly degrading operational effectiveness. This approach to fighting the ARC focuses on infrastructure rather than direct combat with military units. The speed at which the ARC establishes communications in new areas indicates either pre-positioned infrastructure or rapid deployment capability. When the ARC expands into previously uncontrolled territory, does it need time to build communication networks, or can it immediately integrate new areas into existing networks? The answer affects raider strategy for operating in frontier zones where ARC presence is expanding. New ARC-controlled areas might have temporary communication weaknesses before full network integration occurs. The standardization of communication protocols across different ARC machine types suggests centralized design and manufacturing. A snitch, a bastion, and a surveyor probably all use compatible communication systems that allow seamless data exchange. This standardization simplifies network management, but creates universal vulnerability, where any flaw in the communication protocol affects all machine types. If raiders discover an exploit in ARC communications, that exploit might work against every ARC unit, providing widespread advantage from a single breakthrough. The relationship between communication capability and machine intelligence raises questions about where ARC decision-making actually occurs. Do individual machines make tactical decisions based on network-provided intelligence, or does the network itself make decisions and transmit orders to machines that simply execute commands? The difference matters because it determines whether Arc units can adapt creatively to unexpected situations or only follow programmed responses to recognized scenarios. Observed Arc behavior suggests some level of tactical autonomy, but strategic direction probably comes from network-level intelligence. The Arc's investment in communication infrastructure indicates this network is fundamental to accomplishing the Arc's mission. The machines are important, but the communication network that coordinates them might be even more critical. Raiders who think about fighting the Arc focus on destroying machines. Raiders who think about defeating the Arc should focus on disrupting the network that makes those machines effective. The distinction between fighting and defeating represents different approaches to opposing the Arc, with different implications for long-term success. Chapter 6. Harvesting Operations and Resource Acquisition Testing. The Arc's ultimate purpose centers on harvesting operations that represent the core mission justifying the entire machine invasion. Every surveillance system, every combat unit, every communication network exists to enable and protect harvesting. Understanding what the Arc harvests, how it harvests, and why harvesting matters reveals the invasion's true nature and potentially identifies weaknesses in the Arc's strategic plan. The Harvester itself stands as the most important non-combat machine in the Arc arsenal. During Harvester events, this large unit deploys under Queen protection to execute whatever harvesting function justifies its existence. The Harvester possesses electric and fire defense systems, indicating it expects to operate in hostile environments where raiders will attempt interference. These automated defenses supplement the Queen's active protection, creating multiple defensive layers around the harvesting operation. The nature of what the Harvester harvests remains deliberately unclear from available information, but the intensity of Arc commitment to protecting Harvester operations reveals this activity's critical importance. The Arc deploys its most powerful combat unit, the Queen, specifically to guard harvesters. This allocation of elite military assets to protect an economic operation indicates the harvesting is essential to the Arc's larger goals. Without successful harvesting, perhaps the entire Arc invasion fails to accomplish its purpose. The electric and fire defense systems on the Harvester suggest it processes or handles materials that require specific handling precautions. Electric defenses might indicate electromagnetic materials or energy harvesting. Fire defenses might suggest chemical processes or thermal management for high-energy operations. The specific defense types chosen might provide clues about what the Harvester actually does. If we could observe Harvester operations closely, the machinery and processes involved would reveal what resources the Arc seeks. The timing of Harvester events suggests these operations can't occur continuously. The Arc must select specific moments to deploy harvesters, implying either resource availability that varies by location and time, or logistical constraints that prevent constant harvesting everywhere simultaneously. This periodicity creates predictable patterns that informed raiders might exploit. If harvester events follow schedules or occur under specific conditions, raiders could potentially anticipate and prepare for them. The locations where harvester events occur might indicate what the Arc harvests. Does the Arc harvest common materials available everywhere, or rare resources concentrated in specific locations? If harvesters appear in diverse locations, they might harvest something ubiquitous, like atmospheric composition or solar energy. If harvesters concentrate in particular areas, they're probably after geologically or geographically specific resources. Mapping harvester event locations could reveal resource patterns that explain the Arc's interest in particular regions. The Arc probe's mission to scan the ground searching for Speranza connects to harvesting operations through a shared focus on resource acquisition. If probes seek Speranza and harvesters extract resources, perhaps Speranza are the specific resources the Arc came to Earth to obtain. The warning that bad things happened when previous Speranza were found suggests the Arc gained significant advantages from Speranza acquisition. Each Speranza found might enable expanded harvesting operations or new Arc capabilities. The term Speranza itself carries interesting implications. In some languages, Speranza means hope. Why would the Arc call what it seeks hope? Perhaps humans named whatever the Arc searches for, and the Arc adopted or translated that human designation. Or maybe Speranza represents the Arc's hope for accomplishing some goal, making the search for Speranza existentially important, to the Ark's survival or purpose. The naming suggests Speranza is more than just generic resources, possibly representing something specific and vital. The protection allocated to Ark probes, always accompanied by 2 spotters, indicates ground scanning operations are vulnerable and valuable. The Ark accepts the resource cost of dedicating spotters to probe security, suggesting probe operations directly support the core mission. Disrupting probes might delay or prevent Speranza discoveries, interfering with the Ark's harvesting plans. Raiders prioritizing probe disruption could meaningfully impact the Ark's operational timeline, even if they can't directly attack harvesters. The static nature of Ark probes implies ground scanning requires stable positioning and sustained operation time. The probes can't scan effectively while moving or during brief deployments. This creates temporary Ark installations that must be defended until scanning completes. The duration of probe deployments affects how much security the Ark must provide. Longer scanning times mean extended vulnerability periods where raiders could potentially attack. Shorter scanning times mean the Ark can secure probe sites with fewer resources and less risk. The connection between harvesting and manufacturing raises questions about the Ark's industrial chain. Does the Ark harvest raw materials that it then processes into new machines? Or does the Ark harvest energy or exotic resources required to power existing machines? If harvesting feeds manufacturing, disrupting harvesting operations would gradually reduce Ark numbers as losses can't be replaced. If harvesting feeds energy needs, disrupting harvesting might degrade Ark operational tempo as machines conserve power. The scale of harvesting operations required to support the observed Ark machine population must be enormous. Thousands of Ark units exist across the territories where raiders operate. Each machine requires materials for construction and energy for operation. The manufacturing capacity to build this many machines and the energy infrastructure to power them implies harvesting operations far more extensive than the occasional harvester events raiders witness. The visible harvesters might represent specialized extraction of rare materials, while routine harvesting of common resources occurs through methods raiders don't recognize as harvesting. The efficiency of Ark harvesting technology determines how quickly the Ark can accomplish its goals. If harvesters extract resources rapidly and efficiently, the Ark might complete its mission relatively soon. If harvesting is slow or yields minimal results per operation, the Ark might require decades or centuries to obtain sufficient resources. The arc of the invasion's timeline depends on harvesting efficiency, making this one of the most important variables in predicting long-term outcomes. The possibility that the Ark harvests something other than physical materials deserves consideration. What if the Ark harvests information, studying Earth's biosphere, or accessing data repositories humans left behind? What if the Ark harvests energy directly from geological or atmospheric sources? What if the Ark harvests something humans can't perceive or measure, operating at scales or with purposes beyond human comprehension? The assumption that harvesting means physical resource extraction might limit understanding of the Ark's actual activities. The environmental impact of harvesting operations might leave detectable traces that raiders could study. Does the ground around harvester event sites show changes in composition or structure? Do atmospheric readings differ in areas where harvesters operated? These environmental signatures could reveal what the Ark extracts and potentially indicate where future harvester events might occur. Raiders with scientific training and analytical equipment could gather intelligence about harvesting that purely military observers would miss. The relationship between the Queen's combat capability and harvester protection suggests the Ark expects significant opposition to harvesting operations. The Queen isn't deployed for routine security. She guards operations the Ark considers critically important and highly threatened. This implies humans have successfully disrupted harvester operations in the past, forcing the Ark to escalate defensive measures. The Queen's presence represents the Ark's response to human resistance, proving more capable than initially expected. The economics of harvesting operations affect the entire Ark invasion strategy. If harvesting is profitable, meaning resource yield exceeds operational costs, the Ark can sustain indefinite operations. If harvesting operates at a loss or barely breaks even, the Ark faces resource constraints that limit how long operations can continue. Raiders hoping for eventual Ark withdrawal or defeat need to understand whether harvesting economics favor long-term Ark presence or create vulnerabilities through resource depletion. The technology level required to build harvesters and Ark probes exceeds that of standard combat units. These machines incorporate sophisticated sensing and processing systems that suggest advanced engineering. The Ark either brought this technology from wherever it originated or developed it after arriving on Earth. If the Ark can develop new technologies like ground-scanning probes and resource-extracting harvesters, it possesses research and development capabilities that make it progressively more dangerous over time as it innovates solutions to challenges. The coordination between harvester operations and the broader Ark military structure reveals integrated strategic planning. The Ark doesn't simply deploy harvesters randomly and hope for the best. It coordinates surveillance to identify optimal harvesting sites, concentrates military forces to protect operations, and manages logistics to extract and transport harvested materials. This integration suggests centralized intelligence, directing all Ark activities toward accomplishing the harvesting mission. Every Ark machine serves this central purpose either directly or indirectly. The future evolution of harvesting technology might make Ark operations even more difficult to disrupt. Current harvesters require queen protection, indicating vulnerability. Future harvesters might incorporate heavier armor, better defenses, or mobility, allowing them to evade threats. As the Ark learns from attempted raider disruptions, it probably adapts harvester designs to address identified weaknesses. Each successful raider attack teaches the Ark how to better protect future operations, creating an arms race where raiders must constantly develop new disruption tactics. The question of what happens to harvested materials reveals much about the Ark's long-term plans. Does the Ark transport materials off-planet to some distant location? Does it process materials locally into new machines or infrastructure? Does it store materials for future use? The destination of harvested resources determines whether disrupting individual harvester events meaningfully impacts the Ark's overall mission. If the Ark can simply deploy another harvester elsewhere, stopping one operation accomplishes little. If harvesting windows are limited or specific locations irreplaceable, each successful disruption significantly delays Ark goals. The human perspective on harvesting operations often focuses on the immediate threat of Ark machines and the need to survive. The larger question of why the Ark harvests rarely receives attention because survival takes precedence over understanding. But comprehending the Ark's purpose might reveal paths to negotiation, deterrence, or strategic countermeasures that pure military resistance can't achieve. If humans understood what the Ark wants and why, they might identify ways to make harvesting too costly, convince the Ark to leave, or even trade for coexistence. The symbolism of Earth being harvested carries dark implications about humanity's place in the universe. Humans thought of themselves as apex species, masters of the planet. The Ark treats Earth as a resource node, a place to extract value without regard for indigenous inhabitants. This perspective shift from dominant species to obstacle in someone else's resource extraction represents a fundamental challenge to human self-conception. The Ark doesn't hate humanity. It's indifferent to humanity, except as a minor interference in harvesting operations. The mystery of Speranza and the bad things that happened when others were found creates narrative tension around Ark probe operations. What are Speranza? Why does finding them matter so much? What bad things occurred? These questions drive raiders to interfere with probe operations, even when they don't fully understand why disruption matters. The fear that the Ark finding more Speranza will make the situation worse motivates resistance even without complete information about what's at stake. The observation that Celeste knows about Speranza and warns about the consequences of Ark discoveries suggests some humans understand more about the Ark's purpose than typical raiders. Celeste might have access to information about the Ark's origins, mission, or history that hasn't been widely shared. This knowledge asymmetry means some people understand the stakes, while others fight without full comprehension. The decision to withhold or share complete information about Speranza and harvesting affects raider morale and strategy across the entire resistance. The religious or philosophical interpretations of Ark harvesting operations vary among surviving humans. Some might see the Ark as divine punishment for human sins or environmental destruction. Others might view the Ark as a natural disaster, no different than an asteroid impact or supervolcano eruption. Still others might consider the arc evidence of humanity's insignificance in a universe full of more powerful entities. These interpretations shape how different groups respond to the arc threat, from fatalistic acceptance to desperate resistance to hopeful adaptation. The preservation of Earth's ecosystems during harvesting operations suggests either arc restraint or indifference to environmental damage. If the arc carefully avoids causing ecological catastrophe while harvesting, it might need Earth's environment to remain stable for continued operations. If the arc harvests without environmental consideration but Earth's biosphere survives anyway, the scale of harvesting might be smaller than feared. The relationship between harvesting intensity and environmental impact provides clues about what the arc takes and how much of it exists. The comparison between arc harvesting and human mining or resource extraction reveals parallels and differences. Humans extract resources from Earth, often destroying local environments and displacing other species. The arc does essentially the same thing, just with humans as the displaced species. This parallel forces moral questions about human resource extraction practices and whether humanity's objections to arc harvesting are hypocritical. These philosophical questions rarely affect immediate tactical situations, but shape long-term human attitudes toward the arc conflict. The end goal of arc harvesting remains the central mystery. Is the arc harvesting to sustain itself, to build something specific, to terraform Earth for different inhabitants, or to accomplish some purpose humans can't imagine? The answer determines whether the arc will eventually leave after obtaining sufficient resources or remain indefinitely because its mission is endless. Raiders fighting the arc need to know whether they fight a temporary invasion or permanent occupation. The difference affects whether resistance focuses on survival until the arc departs or on finding ways to coexist with permanent arc presence. The documentation of harvesting operations through raider observations creates a growing knowledge base about arc activities. Each witnessed harvester event, each discovered arc probe site, each piece of information about Speranza adds to collective human understanding. Over time, patterns might emerge that reveal the arc's systematic approach to Earth's resources. This accumulation of intelligence represents humanity's long-term strategy for comprehending and eventually countering the arc threat. Knowledge becomes the ultimate weapon when fighting an enemy whose purpose and capabilities remain partially mysterious. Chapter 7: Tactical Doctrine and Combined Arms Warfare. The arc's military effectiveness stems not from individual machine superiority, but from sophisticated tactical doctrine that coordinates different unit types into combined arms forces. Understanding how the arc employs its machines reveals thought processes behind deployment decisions and identifies friction points where raider countermeasures might prove effective. The arc fights like a professional military, not like a mindless robot horde. And recognizing this professionalism is essential for meaningful resistance. The foundational principle of arc tactics appears to be economy of force, deploying only as much combat power as situations require. First strike units like ticks and pops handle minor threats. Heavy units like leapers and bastions engage serious challenges. Elite units like the Queen appear only for critical operations. This graduated response conserves arc resources while maintaining appropriate force levels for each situation. The arc doesn't waste expensive machines on situations cheap machines can resolve. The integration of surveillance and strike capabilities creates kill chains where detection leads seamlessly to elimination. A snitch spots raiders, summons wasps and a hornet, and those aerial units either eliminate the raiders or keep them engaged while additional arc forces arrive. This standardized response procedure ensures consistent reactions to threats. Raiders can't exploit inconsistent arc behavior because the arc follows predictable protocols. However, these protocols also create patterns that observant raiders might anticipate and counter. The combination of direct and indirect fire capabilities gives the arc tactical flexibility. Bastions provide direct fire with their miniguns. Bombardiers deliver indirect fire through mortars. Sentinels offer precision fire from elevated positions. This diverse firepower means raiders can't simply take cover and expect safety. Direct fire forces movement. Indirect fire punishes static positions. Precision fire eliminates raiders who think they're safe at range. The arc attacks from multiple vectors simultaneously, creating tactical dilemmas where every response carries risk. The coordination between ground and air units represents advanced combined arms doctrine. Ground units like bastions suppress raider movement with heavy fire. Aerial units catch raiders during forced movement. This cooperation multiplies effectiveness beyond what ground or air units could achieve independently. The ARC understands that combined arms forces present multiple simultaneous threats that overwhelm enemy decision-making capacity. Raiders face too many dangers to address effectively, leading to mistakes that the ARC exploits. The employment of area denial weapons and tactics channels raiders into kill zones. Fireballs create burning barriers that deny access to certain areas. Bombardier mortars make open ground extremely dangerous. Sentinel overwatch prevents safe movement near buildings. Pop explosives make raiders hesitant about approaching any small ARC unit. These area denial methods don't necessarily kill raiders directly, but manipulate their movement into positions where other ARC units can engage more effectively. The ARC shapes the battlefield to its advantage. The use of ambush tactics through ticks and other concealed units demonstrates ARC understanding of surprise and shock value. Raiders entering buildings expect to find safety, or at least the ability to control engagement ranges. Ticks hiding on ceilings violate this expectation, creating moments of shock where raiders hesitate or panic. These psychological moments provide the ARC tactical windows where surprised raiders make mistakes. The ARC weaponizes surprise as effectively as it weaponizes physical damage. The layered defense concept appears repeatedly in ARC tactics. Harvesters have their own electric and fire defenses. Queens provide active protection for harvesters. Other ARC units probably patrol nearby. This defense in depth means raiders can't simply eliminate the first defensive layer and reach objectives. Each layer must be penetrated, each requiring different tactics and consuming time and resources. The ARC buys time through layered defenses. Time for reinforcements to arrive and convert defensive engagements into counterattacks that eliminate raider threats. The rapid reinforcement capability that brings wasps and hornets within seconds of snitch alerts demonstrates ARC tactical mobility. The ARC doesn't wait for threats to become critical before responding. It responds to potential threats immediately, often overwhelming raiders before they realize they've been detected. This speed of response makes stealth extremely difficult, because even brief detection triggers rapid reaction. Raiders must either avoid detection entirely or be prepared for immediate combat the moment any ARC unit spots them. The employment of force multipliers like snitches and spotters reveals ARC understanding that information superiority wins battles. A snitch that can summon 2 wasps and a hornet provides more combat value through coordination than it would if it carried weapons itself. A spotter that enables accurate bombardier fire multiplies the bombardier's effectiveness. The ARC invests in information and coordination capabilities because these investments produce disproportionate returns in combat effectiveness. The acceptance of calculated losses in first strike and surveillance units indicates the ARC evaluates cost-benefit ratios continuously. Losing multiple snitches trying to spot raiders is acceptable if one snitch eventually succeeds and calls for effective reinforcements. Losing pops and wasps is acceptable if they delay raiders or inflict any damage. The ARC doesn't mourn individual units or hesitate to expend them. This ruthless efficiency gives the ARC strategic patience, where it can afford to lose engagements as long as the overall resource equation favors ARC operations. The standardization of response protocols creates both strengths and weaknesses. The strength is reliability, where the ARC consistently deploys appropriate forces for recognized situations. The weakness is predictability, where raiders who understand the protocols can prepare specific counters. A snitch always summons 2 wasps and 1 hornet. Raiders who know this can prepare for exactly that threat. The question becomes whether the ARC's response is strong enough that preparation doesn't matter, or whether prepared raiders can consistently defeat standard ARC responses. The adaptation of tactics to terrain and circumstances suggests either intelligent command making situation-specific decisions or sophisticated programming that accounts for environmental variables. Ticks deploy in buildings, not open ground. Sentinels position on high points, not in valleys. Leapers excel in broken terrain, where their jumping ability provides maximum advantage. The ARC either has adaptive intelligence assessing each situation or pre-planned tactical libraries for different terrain types. Either explanation demonstrates military competence. The concentration of force at critical points shows ARC understanding of mass and momentum in warfare. During harvester events, the ARC doesn't distribute forces evenly. It concentrates overwhelming combat power around the harvester, accepting lower security elsewhere to maximize protection at the critical point. This concentration creates both opportunity and danger for raiders. The opportunity is reduced ARC presence in non-critical areas. The danger is overwhelming force at sites raiders might want to attack. The use of psychological warfare through machine design and behavior reveals ARC comprehension of human psychology. Machines that look like spiders or insects evoke instinctive fear. Machines that hide in shadows create paranoia. Machines that self-destruct force raiders to question every engagement. The ARC understands that breaking human morale and decision-making capacity provides advantages that complement physical combat capability. A frightened, confused raider is easier to kill than a confident, focused one. The integration of new unit types, like the Shredder, into existing tactical doctrine demonstrates ARC organizational learning. The ARC identified a weakness in close quarters combat and developed a specialized unit to address it. This capability for self-assessment and improvement suggests the ARC learns from operational experience. Static tactics eventually fail against adaptive opponents, but the ARC doesn't remain static. It evolves, forcing raiders to continuously develop new countermeasures rather than relying on tactics that worked previously. The employment of elite units only during specific circumstances suggests command discipline where expensive assets aren't risked unnecessarily. Queens don't patrol randomly. They guard harvesters during critical operations. Matriarchs appear only under specific map conditions. This restraint indicates centralized control, preventing local commanders or individual machines from wasting elite capabilities on situations that don't warrant them. The ARC maintains strategic reserves, holding back maximum force until circumstances justify deployment. The coordination required for effective ARC operations implies communication and command structures that raiders rarely see. Someone or something decides where surveyors patrol, when harvesters deploy, which areas receive heavy unit coverage, how to respond to raider attacks. This strategic intelligence exists above the tactical level where most raider ARC engagements occur. Destroying ARC units in the field degrades tactical capability but doesn't touch the strategic intelligence directing those units. The true ARC strength might lie not in its machines, but in whatever commands them. The maintenance of operational security through surveillance and rapid response prevents raiders from gathering detailed intelligence about ARC capabilities and intentions. When raiders probe ARC positions, they face immediate counterattacks that force retreat. When raiders establish observation posts, ARC units hunt them down. This aggressive security posture means human intelligence about the ARC comes from brief, dangerous contact rather than sustained observation. The ARC controls information flow, revealing only what combat situations expose, while keeping broader capabilities and plans hidden. The willingness to accept temporary setbacks suggests long-term strategic thinking. The ARC tolerates raiders destroying individual units, clearing areas temporarily, or disrupting specific operations. These tactical losses don't prompt panic or drastic responses. The ARC maintains operational discipline, accepts losses as inevitable, and continues executing its strategic plan. This patient, methodical approach to warfare suggests confidence in ultimate victory based on resource advantages or superior strategic position that tactical setbacks can't undermine. The variability in ARC tactics between different locations or time periods might indicate multiple command entities with different styles, or the ARC testing different tactical approaches to identify optimal methods. If ARC tactics vary geographically, different ARC commanders might control different regions, each with preferred operational methods. If tactics vary temporally, the ARC might be conducting experiments, trying different approaches, and measuring effectiveness. Either explanation suggests a learning organization that improves through experience rather than static programming that never changes. The question of whether ARC tactics represent optimal solutions or merely adequate solutions affects predictions about future ARC development. If current tactics are optimal for ARC capabilities and human resistance levels, the ARC might not significantly change approaches because improvement is impossible. If current tactics are adequate but not optimal, the ARC might discover better methods through continued learning and experimentation. The difference determines whether raiders face an enemy approaching maximum effectiveness or an enemy still developing toward full potential. The comparison between ARC tactics and historical human military doctrine reveals both similarities and differences. The similarities, combined arms coordination, economy of force, concentration at critical points, suggest universal principles of warfare that apply regardless of whether combatants are human or machine. The differences, acceptance of extreme attrition rates, perfect protocol execution, lack of morale considerations, highlight how machine warfare departs from human warfare. Understanding both similarities and differences helps raiders apply lessons from human military history while recognizing where historical lessons don't transfer to fighting machines. The long-term sustainability of ARC tactics depends on maintaining numerical superiority and manufacturing capacity. Current ARC tactics accept significant losses because the ARC can replace destroyed units. If manufacturing capability degrades, or if losses exceed replacement rates, the ARC would need different tactics that conserve forces more carefully. Raiders hoping to change the strategic balance need to inflict losses faster than the ARC can manufacture replacements, a goal that requires understanding where ARC units come from and disrupting production at source. The adaptation of raiders to ARC tactics creates evolutionary pressure where the ARC must continue improving to maintain effectiveness. As raiders learn to counter snitch alerts, avoid pop explosions, and defeat wasp swarms, the ARC's current tactics become less effective. This forces the ARC to develop new units, new tactics, or new combinations of existing capabilities. The conflict between ARC and humans drives military evolution on both sides, with neither able to rely on static approaches. The side that innovates faster and implements improvements more effectively holds the advantage in this evolutionary arms race. The teaching and transmission of tactical knowledge among raiders determines how quickly human resistance improves. Individual raiders might learn effective counter-tactics through experience, but if that knowledge dies with them or remains local, the ARC maintains advantages. Systematic collection, analysis, and distribution of tactical intelligence across all raider groups would multiply human effectiveness by ensuring everyone benefits from each successful counter-tactic discovered. The ARC's networked coordination gives it this advantage naturally. Human resistance must deliberately build knowledge-sharing systems to approach parity. Chapter 8: Manufacturing, Logistics, and the ARC Industrial Base. Behind every ARC machine encountered in the field lies an industrial infrastructure producing, maintaining, and deploying those machines. Understanding the ARC's manufacturing and logistics reveals the source of its military power and identifies vulnerabilities far from the battlefield. Raiders who think strategically about defeating the ARC must eventually address not just the machines they fight, but the factories that build them and the supply chains that sustain them. The ARC's industrial capacity might be its true strength and potentially its critical weakness. The sheer number of ARC machines operating across vast territories implies manufacturing capability at scales that dwarf remaining human industrial capacity. Thousands of visible ARC units suggest tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands when accounting for units in reserve, under maintenance, or operating in areas where raiders don't observe. The production volume required to build and maintain this machine population indicates factories running continuously with enormous material throughput and energy consumption. The ARC commands industrial resources that may exceed what human civilization possessed even before the invasion. The diversity of ARC machine types, from tiny ticks to massive queens, suggests specialized production lines or facilities capable of manufacturing different unit types. A factory optimized for producing small rolling units like POPs probably can't efficiently produce spider-like leapers without significant retooling. The ARC either maintains multiple specialized factories, each producing specific machine types, or possesses advanced manufacturing systems capable of rapidly reconfiguring for different products. The choice between specialized and flexible manufacturing affects the Ark's ability to quickly increase production of specific unit types in response to tactical needs. The materials required for Ark manufacturing must come from somewhere. Are these materials harvested from Earth through harvester operations, imported from off-planet sources, synthesized through processes humans don't understand? The source of materials determines whether disrupting Earth-based harvesting significantly impacts Ark manufacturing. If the Ark relies primarily on harvested materials, successful disruption of harvester operations would gradually reduce new machine production. If the Ark imports materials or synthesizes them from abundant resources, harvesting disruption provides minimal benefit. The energy requirements for Ark manufacturing and machine operation must be astronomical. Manufacturing consumes energy to process materials, power assembly systems, and quality control mechanisms. Machine operation consumes energy for movement, weapons, sensors, and communications. The combined energy demand implies power generation capacity far exceeding anything raiders typically observe. The Ark either possesses compact, ultra-high efficiency power systems, operates energy generation facilities in locations raiders haven't discovered, or harvests energy in ways that don't require visible power plants. The location of Ark manufacturing facilities remains largely unknown to human resistance. Raiders encounter Ark machines in the field, but rarely discover where those machines are built. This disconnect suggests manufacturing occurs in heavily defended facilities that raiders can't approach, or in locations so remote that raiders never find them. Alternative possibilities include mobile manufacturing that relocates to avoid discovery, or underground facilities hidden beneath territory the Ark controls. Identifying manufacturing locations would be a strategic intelligence victory, providing targets far more valuable than individual machines. The logistics required to distribute newly manufactured machines to operational areas implies supply chains vulnerable to disruption. Machines built centrally must somehow reach deployment locations, potentially hundreds or thousands of kilometers away. This distribution might occur through Ark transportation systems that raiders don't see, self-deployment where machines travel under their own power, or periodic mass deployments when production batches complete. Understanding these logistics patterns could reveal opportunities to attack machines in transit when they're potentially more vulnerable than in combat deployments. The maintenance requirements for operational Ark machines affect how many units the Ark must produce to maintain field strength. Machines that rarely need maintenance allow the Ark to focus manufacturing on producing new units. Machines requiring frequent maintenance mean the Ark must divide manufacturing capacity between new production and replacement parts. The reliability of Ark engineering determines whether the Ark operates a replacement-focused economy, constantly building new units, or a maintenance-focused economy, keeping existing units operational. The apparent lack of visible damage on most Ark units suggests either excellent maintenance, rapid replacement of damaged machines, or self-repair capabilities. Raiders who damage but don't destroy Ark units might expect to encounter those same damaged machines later. If damaged machines disappear quickly, the Ark either withdraws them for repair or destroys non-repairable units to prevent raiders from studying them. This maintenance philosophy affects whether battles of attrition favor raiders through accumulated damage to Ark forces or favor the Ark through constant renewal to peak operational condition. The question of whether Ark manufacturing uses automation or requires some form of human replacement labor affects total manufacturing capacity. Fully automated factories could theoretically produce unlimited machines given sufficient materials and energy. Factories requiring labor have production limits based on available workers. The observation that the Ark itself is machines suggests fully automated manufacturing, where machines build other machines without biological labor. This self-replication capability, if confirmed, makes the Ark an exponentially growing threat, whose numbers increase over time unless actively suppressed. The time required to manufacture different Ark unit types affects how quickly the Ark can respond to changing tactical situations. Simple units like POPs might be manufactured rapidly, allowing quick replacement of losses. Complex units like Queens might require extended manufacturing times, making losses difficult to replace. The Ark's production tempo determines whether destroying expensive units provides lasting advantage or merely temporary reduction in Ark capability. Rapid replacement negates the benefit of difficult victories against elite units. The quality control processes in Ark manufacturing determine how consistently machines perform to specifications. Perfect quality control means every tick behaves identically, every bastion possesses the same armor and firepower. Variable quality produces machines with slightly different capabilities, some more dangerous than others. Raiders who observe consistent Ark performance across all units of a type can infer excellent manufacturing quality control. Raiders who note performance variations within unit types can infer either quality control challenges or intentional variation to test design modifications. The evolution of Ark machine designs over time suggests either continuous improvement in manufacturing processes or experimentation with different specifications. The appearance of new units like the Shredder indicates the Ark didn't arrive with fixed designs, but continues developing new machine types. This innovation capability requires research and development facilities separate from or integrated with manufacturing. The Ark invests in improving its machines, treating design as an ongoing process rather than fixed product. This commitment to improvement makes the Ark progressively more dangerous. The standardization of components across different machine types would optimize manufacturing efficiency through economies of scale. If snitches, wasps, and hornets all use similar rotor systems, the Ark can manufacture rotors in volume and use them across multiple machine types. If different ground units use compatible locomotion systems, one production line serves multiple purposes. Component standardization reduces manufacturing complexity but creates universal vulnerabilities where one design flaw affects multiple machine types. Raiders identifying common components could potentially develop attacks effective against numerous different Ark units. The supply of ammunition and consumables to operational units implies logistics networks distributing not just machines, but also the materials they need for sustained operation. Sentinels need ammunition for sniper weapons. Bastions need ammunition for miniguns. Bombardiers need mortar shells. These consumables must be manufactured and distributed, creating supply vulnerabilities that don't exist for machines using energy weapons or non-expendable attack methods. Raiders who can disrupt ammunition supplies might force Ark units into lower operational tempo or withdrawal from areas where resupply is impossible. The security protecting Ark manufacturing and logistics facilities probably exceeds security around routine operational areas. The Ark knows that its industrial base is strategically critical and presumably defends it accordingly. Raiders hoping to attack manufacturing would face the most heavily defended targets in the Ark's entire infrastructure. The challenge of penetrating these defenses might explain why raiders don't simply attack factories instead of fighting individual machines. The tactical difficulty of reaching Ark industry creates a strategic problem where human resistance lacks practical options for striking at the source of Ark military power. The efficiency of Ark manufacturing affects the exchange ratio where the Ark trades machines for human casualties. If the Ark can quickly and cheaply replace destroyed units while human losses are permanent, any positive Ark exchange ratio eventually wins through attrition. If Ark manufacturing is slow or expensive, even unfavorable exchange ratios might gradually deplete Ark forces. The economic sustainability of Ark operations depends on manufacturing efficiency, creating machines faster than raiders destroy them. This production rate is possibly the most important variable in determining long-term war outcomes. The possibility of distributed manufacturing, where multiple small facilities produce machines rather than centralized production from megafactories, affects vulnerability to attack. Distributed manufacturing provides resilience through redundancy. Destroying one facility barely dents total production capacity because many others continue operating. Centralized manufacturing creates single points of failure where one successful attack significantly reduces output. The Ark's manufacturing architecture determines whether attacking industrial targets provides meaningful strategic benefit or merely wastes resources on attacks that don't significantly affect Ark capabilities. The question of whether Ark manufacturing occurs on Earth or elsewhere dramatically affects strategic calculations. If all manufacturing is Earth-based, the Ark is vulnerable to determined attacks on its industrial infrastructure. If manufacturing occurs off-planet, with finished machines transported to Earth, local industrial attacks accomplish nothing. If the Ark can call for reinforcements from external manufacturing, destroying Earth-based production might not reduce Ark numbers at all. Raiders need to understand the scope of Ark industry to assess whether industrial attacks are worth attempting. The resource recycling capability of the Ark determines whether destroyed machines represent total losses or can be reclaimed. If the Ark recovers destroyed machines and recycles their materials, each raider victory provides the Ark with resources for building replacement units. If destroyed machines can't be recovered or recycled, each Ark loss represents permanent resource depletion. The Ark's approach to battlefield salvage affects whether attrition warfare favors raiders through irreplaceable Ark losses or favors the Ark through resource recovery that sustains indefinite operations. The integration of manufacturing with strategic planning reveals whether Ark industry responds to battlefield needs or operates on predetermined production schedules. If the Ark increases Leaper production after raiders develop effective anti-aerial tactics, manufacturing responds to tactical evolution. If production remains constant regardless of battlefield outcomes, manufacturing operates independently from field operations. Responsive manufacturing allows the Ark to adapt its force composition to counter effective raider tactics. Independent manufacturing means the Ark commits to force structures long before encountering the situations where those forces deploy. The timeline for Ark manufacturing, from concept to deployment, determines how quickly the Ark can field new machine types. The shredder's appearance in Stellar Montis suggests months or years from concept to deployment if the Ark started designing it after identifying close-quarters combat weaknesses. Faster development cycles would mean more rapid responses to tactical challenges. The pace of innovation affects whether raiders can exploit successful tactics for extended periods or must constantly innovate as the Ark quickly counters anything effective. The trade-offs between manufacturing quantity and quality affect Ark force composition. Producing many cheap machines provides numerical superiority and area coverage. Producing fewer expensive but capable machines provides superior performance in critical engagements. The Ark's choice to deploy both cheap expendable units and expensive elite units suggests optimization for different scenarios rather than commitment to one approach. This mixed strategy provides flexibility but requires manufacturing capacity sufficient to support production across the quality spectrum. The visibility of Ark manufacturing to human surveillance technologies determines whether humanity could locate and assess industrial facilities, even if unable to attack them. If Ark factories emit heat, electromagnetic radiation, or other signatures detectable from distance, they could potentially be found through reconnaissance. If Ark manufacturing uses stealth technologies or operates underground in shielded facilities, discovery becomes nearly impossible. The ability to even locate Ark industry affects whether industrial attacks are theoretically possible, regardless of whether they're practically achievable, given current raider capabilities. Chapter 9. Strategic Intelligence and Decision-Making Architecture. The Ark's military effectiveness and operational coordination suggests sophisticated intelligence analysis and decision-making capabilities operating above the tactical level of individual machines. Understanding how the Ark processes information, makes strategic decisions, and coordinates operations across vast territories reveals the nature of Ark intelligence itself. Is the Ark a unified consciousness, a distributed intelligence network, a hierarchy of command echelons, or something else entirely? The answer affects how raiders might exploit Ark decision-making weaknesses or disrupt command functions. The existence of different Ark machine types with specialized roles implies someone or something makes design decisions about what machines to build and how to employ them. These aren't random choices. Someone determined that surveillance requires snitches, turrets, sentinels, and surveyors rather than one universal scout. Someone decided heavy combat needs leapers and bastions with different capabilities. These design decisions represent strategic thinking about how to accomplish objectives given available resources and expected threats. The intelligence making these decisions operates at a level far above tactical machine control. The coordination of ARC operations across multiple unit types and geographical areas requires information synthesis and command issuance at scales that individual machines probably can't manage. When a harvester event occurs, the Queen deploys, other ARC units position for security, surveillance assets monitor for raiders, and reinforcements remain ready to respond. This coordination suggests a command entity that views the battle space holistically and issues orders, creating unified action from diverse machines. Whether this command is centralized in one location or distributed across the ARC network affects vulnerabilities to decapitation strikes. The adaptation of ARC tactics to raider behavior indicates learning capability that might exist at strategic intelligence levels. If local ARC units simply follow programmed behaviors, they shouldn't improve based on experience. If ARC strategy evolves to counter effective raider tactics, strategic intelligence is observing, analyzing, and updating operational plans based on battlefield outcomes. This strategic learning makes the ARC progressively more dangerous as it accumulates experience fighting humanity. What works against the ARC today might fail tomorrow as the ARC adjusts to counter successful raider techniques. The allocation of ARC resources across different operational areas reveals strategic priorities that conscious decision-making establishes. Heavy units concentrate in some regions and remain absent from others. Harvester events occur at specific locations during specific times. Surveillance density varies geographically. These patterns aren't random. Strategic intelligence determines where to commit resources based on operational importance, threat assessments, and resource availability. Understanding these allocation patterns might allow raiders to infer ARC goals and predict future operations. The question of whether ARC intelligence is centralized or distributed fundamentally affects its vulnerability. Centralized intelligence, where one entity makes all strategic decisions, creates a single point of failure. Destroying or disrupting that central intelligence could paralyze the entire ARC network. Distributed intelligence, where multiple entities collaborate on decisions or each controls specific areas, provides resilience through redundancy. No single loss catastrophically degrades overall ARC capability. The resilience of ARC operations after local defeats suggests distribution, but the coordination of complex operations implies some level of centralization. The possibility of hierarchical intelligence architecture, where local commanders control tactical operations under strategic direction from higher echelons, mirrors human military organizations. Local ARC commanders might have authority to make tactical decisions, while strategic headquarters sets objectives and allocates resources. This hierarchy provides flexibility for local adaptation while maintaining strategic unity. If ARC intelligence is hierarchical, identifying and targeting command echelons could disrupt operations more effectively than destroying tactical units. However, finding command nodes among thousands of machines presents enormous intelligence challenges. The speed of ARC decision-making suggests either automated processes that evaluate situations and issue orders faster than human decision cycles, or pre-planned responses to anticipated scenarios. If the ARC can assess situations and make complex decisions in seconds, human commanders face decision speed disadvantages that force them into reactive rather than proactive roles. If ARC responses follow predetermined plans, speed comes from recognition and execution rather than analysis, making ARC decisions predictable but rapid. Either approach provides advantages over human decision-making that operates more slowly but potentially more creatively. The data processing capacity required to manage the ARC's surveillance network and coordinate military operations must be immense. Every turret scanning buildings, every snitch observing areas, every surveyor transmitting updates generates data that something must receive, store, analyze, and act upon. The volume of information flowing through the ARC network every second probably exceeds human comprehension. Whatever processes this data represents either computational capability far beyond human technology or intelligent entities with information processing abilities humans lack. The ARC's information superiority stems partly from this massive processing capacity. The strategic patience demonstrated by the ARC suggests long-term planning oriented toward ultimate goals rather than immediate victories. The ARC tolerates raiders destroying machines, disrupting operations, and surviving engagements. These tactical setbacks don't trigger desperate responses or strategic panic. The Ark maintains focus on its core mission, whatever that is, and treats resistance as expected friction rather than crisis. This long-term orientation indicates confidence in eventual success based on strategic advantages that tactical losses can't undermine. The Ark knows it will win and merely executes the plan that leads to victory. The question of whether Ark intelligence possesses creativity or merely executes sophisticated programming affects predictions about Ark adaptability. True creativity would allow the Ark to develop entirely novel solutions to unexpected problems. Programming, no matter how sophisticated, limits responses to anticipated scenarios and predetermined algorithms. If raiders present challenges the Ark never anticipated, creative intelligence would adapt while programming would fail. The appearance of new machine types like the Shredder suggests some creative capacity, but whether this creativity represents true innovation or programmed design evolution remains unclear. The moral philosophy underlying Ark's strategic decisions, if such philosophy exists, affects whether negotiation or coexistence with the Ark is possible. If the Ark views humans as obstacles to be eliminated, negotiation fails because Ark goals require human removal. If the Ark views humans as irrelevant except as interference in operations, coexistence might be possible if humans stop interfering. If the Ark possesses no moral framework and operates purely on optimization algorithms, human concerns about rights or survival are meaningless to Ark calculations. Understanding Ark morality, or lack thereof, determines whether paths exist beyond military resistance. The communication between strategic intelligence and tactical units determines how much autonomy individual machines possess. Tight control means machines execute specific orders with little independent judgment. Loose control means machines receive objectives and determine implementation independently. The Ark probably uses mission-type orders, where strategic intelligence sets goals and tactical units determine methods. This balance between control and autonomy optimizes flexibility. While maintaining strategic unity, raiders exploiting gaps between strategic intent and tactical execution might create confusion or inefficiency in Ark operations. The evolution of Ark intelligence over time affects whether the Ark encountered at invasion start is the same Ark existing now. If Ark intelligence learns, evolves, and changes, it's a different entity now than when it arrived. Early strategic mistakes might not repeat. Early vulnerabilities might no longer exist. This evolution makes historical intelligence about the Ark progressively less relevant. What raiders learned about the Ark years ago might not apply to its current state. The Ark's capacity for self-improvement determines whether it's a static opponent or a progressively more dangerous one. The possibility of multiple distinct Ark intelligences potentially competing or collaborating adds complexity to understanding Ark operations. If different Ark factions pursue different goals or employ different methods, behavior raiders observe in one region might not predict behavior elsewhere. Raider intelligence assessments based on local observations would fail to capture Ark diversity. However, the observed coordination of Ark operations suggests either unified intelligence or successful collaboration between different entities. The Ark operates as a coherent whole, despite geographical spread and operational complexity. The inspiration or template for Ark intelligence architecture might derive from biological intelligence, particularly social insects like ants or bees. These creatures achieve complex collective behavior through simple individual rules and pheromone communication. The Ark might operate similarly, with individual machines following simple local rules that produce sophisticated collective behavior. This distributed approach requires no central intelligence, emerging from interaction of many simple agents. Alternatively, the Ark might represent artificial superintelligence that makes social insect organization look primitive. The sophistication level determines whether human intelligence can comprehend and counter Ark strategic thinking. The question of whether Ark intelligence is conscious, self-aware, and possesses subjective experience affects moral considerations about fighting the Ark. If Ark machines are philosophical zombies, executing complex behaviors without conscious experience, Destroying them raises no moral concerns beyond property destruction. If Ark intelligence possesses consciousness and subjective experience, destroying machines might constitute killing sentient beings. Most raiders probably don't contemplate these questions during combat, but they matter for long-term human attitudes toward the conflict and possibilities for post-war reconciliation if the Ark can be defeated or convinced to leave. The goals pursued by Ark intelligence determine what ultimate victory looks like from the Ark's perspective. If the Ark seeks resources, victory means harvesting sufficient quantities. If the Ark seeks territorial control, victory means eliminating or subordinating human resistance. If the Ark seeks something else entirely, victory conditions remain unknown to humans. The mismatch between human assumptions about Ark goals and actual Ark objectives could lead to strategic errors where humans defend the wrong things or attack objectives the Ark doesn't value. Correctly understanding Ark goals is prerequisite for developing effective grand strategy. The decision architecture the Ark uses for responding to raider tactics affects whether humans can manipulate Ark responses through deception or misdirection. If the Ark uses rigid decision trees, predictable responses to specific stimuli, raiders might exploit this predictability through feints and ambushes. If the Ark employs flexible decision-making that assesses intent and adapts responses, deception becomes more difficult. The success or failure of raider deception operations reveals Ark decision-making characteristics that inform broader understanding of Ark intelligence. The interface between Ark strategic intelligence and tactical execution determines where bottlenecks or friction points might exist. If strategic decisions must be communicated through the surveyor network, communication limitations could delay tactical responses to changing situations. If strategic intelligence has direct communication with all units, no delay exists, but bandwidth requirements become enormous. The communication architecture supporting command and control affects how quickly the Ark can respond to unexpected developments, and whether windows exist where raiders can exploit delayed Ark awareness. The preservation of Ark intelligence through redundancy or backup systems affects whether decapitation strikes could defeat the Ark, even if strategic intelligence nodes could be located. Single copies of Ark intelligence make it vulnerable to lucky strikes that might end the war. Multiple copies mean intelligence persists even if individual copies are destroyed. The Ark probably maintains redundancy, given the sophistication demonstrated in other aspects of its operations. This redundancy makes defeating the Ark through decapitation extremely difficult, requiring elimination of all intelligence copies rather than just finding and destroying one. Chapter 10. The nature of Ark purpose and the existential question. Beyond tactical analysis of machines and strategic assessment of Ark operations lies the fundamental question that haunts all raiders who pause to think, what is the Ark? Where did it come from? And why is it here? These existential questions might seem irrelevant to immediate survival, but understanding Ark purpose could reveal paths to ending the conflict beyond pure military victory. The nature of the Ark threat determines whether humanity fights for survival against extinction or merely represents an inconvenience to alien operations that might eventually accommodate human existence. The harvesting operations central to Ark activity suggest resource acquisition as primary motivation. The Ark came to Earth for something specific, something worth deploying vast machine forces to extract despite human resistance. This resource-focused interpretation makes the Ark essentially an interstellar mining operation using advanced automation. Humans become obstacles in resource extraction, dealt with through military force, not from hatred, but from operational necessity. This perspective, while somewhat depressing in its reduction of humanity to inconvenient status, offers hope that the Ark might eventually leave after obtaining sufficient resources. The search for Speranza adds mystery to resource acquisition narratives. If the Ark simply harvests common materials, why conduct ground scamming operations seeking specific items? Speranza might represent rare resources concentrated in specific locations, explaining why Ark probes scan rather than harvesters deploying everywhere. The warning that bad things happened when Speranza were found suggests these aren't merely valuable resources, but potentially dangerous or powerful items. What could be dangerous to the Ark? What could provide the Ark with power it doesn't already possess? The answers might reveal Ark vulnerabilities or limitations that currently constrain its operations. The military sophistication demonstrated by Ark forces suggests the entity behind the invasion possesses extensive warfare knowledge. The Ark either has military experience from previous conflicts elsewhere in the universe or studied warfare extensively before invading Earth. The alternative, that the Ark developed sophisticated military doctrine through trial and error while fighting humanity, seems unlikely given the competence demonstrated early in the invasion. This implies the Ark anticipated resistance, prepared for it, and arrived with military capabilities sufficient to defeat Earth's defenses. The Ark knew war would be necessary and brought warfighting capability appropriate to the challenge. The apparent indifference to human welfare or survival displayed by Ark operations suggests the Ark doesn't recognize humans as entities deserving moral consideration. The Ark treats humans like humans treat bacteria or insects, obstacles to be eliminated when they interfere, but not enemies worthy of respect or consideration. This moral status might result from the Ark's non-biological nature being unable to value organic life. Or the Ark might possess morality that applies only to entities it considers intelligent or significant, with humans failing to meet those criteria. The Ark's disregard for human life makes negotiation difficult because humans have nothing the Ark values except absence. The timeline of the Ark invasion raises questions about whether Earth is the Ark's first target or merely the latest in a series of resource exploitation operations across the galaxy. If the Ark systematically harvests resources from multiple worlds, humans face an enemy with experience and refinement from previous campaigns. If Earth is the first world the Ark harvested, the machines and tactics represent initial development rather than battle-tested designs. The appearance of continuous improvement in Ark capabilities suggests learning from experience, supporting either possibility depending on whether that experience comes from fighting humans or from earlier campaigns elsewhere. The technology level demonstrated by the Ark, from anti-gravity flight to directed energy weapons to sophisticated machine intelligence, suggests origins significantly more advanced than human civilization. The Ark either represents a far future descendant of technological civilization or an alien intelligence whose development path differed from humanity's. The gap between human technology and Ark technology determines whether humans could ever develop countermeasures that match Ark capabilities, or merely hope to survive long enough that the Ark completes its mission and leaves. If the technology gap is unbridgeable, military victory becomes impossible, and survival requires either hiding or negotiating some form of coexistence. The origin theories about the Ark range from alien invasion to human creation, gone wrong to divine punishment to natural evolution of machine intelligence. Aliens make sense given technology beyond human capability. Human creation explains why Ark machines sometimes seem optimized for fighting humans specifically. Divine punishment appeals to religious interpretations seeking meaning in catastrophe. Natural emergence of machine intelligence presents a cautionary tale about artificial intelligence development. Each theory carries different implications for how humanity should respond, and whether hope exists for favorable resolution. The possibility that the Ark represents post-human or transhuman entities, perhaps descendants of humans who abandoned biological form, adds disturbing complexity. If the Ark is what humanity becomes, the invasion represents a dark mirror showing humanity's potential future. This interpretation makes the conflict parricide, where humanity fights and kills its own descendants, who returned from the future or evolved in parallel. The Ark's disregard for biological humans makes sense if it views biological form as primitive stage it transcended. Recognition of human Ark continuity might enable communication impossible between completely alien entities. The question of whether the Ark possesses consciousness or merely simulates intelligent behavior affects how humans should think about the conflict, morally and strategically. Conscious Ark intelligence implies an entity that suffers, hopes, fears, and desires, just as humans do, despite different physical form. Unconscious Ark processes mean sophisticated behavior without subjective experience, no more conscious than a computer virus spreading through networks. Fighting conscious entities raises moral questions about causing suffering. Fighting unconscious processes is morally neutral, destroying machines no different from demolishing factories. The distinction matters for human psychology and possible post-conflict reconciliation, if humans and Ark must coexist. The scale of Ark operations visible to raiders might represent a tiny fraction of total Ark presence. If the Ark operates globally or across multiple star systems, the forces humans encounter are local operational units, while vast Ark resources exist elsewhere. This perspective makes human resistance seem pointless, mosquitoes harassing an elephant that barely notices the bites. However, if visible Ark forces represent its total capability committed to Earth operations, human resistance meaningfully impacts Ark effectiveness. The scope of Ark power determines whether resistance is noble futility or genuine opposition that might eventually succeed through attrition, or forcing the Ark to conclude Earth operations aren't worth the cost. The environmental impact of Ark operations, surprisingly minimal given the scale of machine deployment, suggests either Ark restraint or irrelevance of environmental damage to Ark goals. If the Ark carefully preserves Earth's biosphere, it needs Earth to remain habitable for continued operations. If the Ark simply hasn't had sufficient time to cause environmental collapse, future degradation might make Earth uninhabitable for humans, even if the Ark eventually leaves. If Ark harvesting specifically targets resources that don't require environmental destruction, the overlap between Ark needs and environmental preservation might be coincidental rather than deliberate. The religious and philosophical interpretations of the Ark invasion reveal humanity struggling to find meaning in catastrophe. Some see divine punishment for human sins, whether environmental destruction, warfare, or moral failings. Others see random cosmic bad luck, no different than asteroid impacts or supervolcano eruptions. Still others see test or opportunity for humanity to prove itself, evolve, or unite against common threat. These interpretations shape human responses from fatalistic acceptance to desperate resistance to hopeful adaptation. The meaning humans assign to the Ark determines whether the invasion breaks human spirit or galvanizes determination to survive. The future of human-Ark relations depends on whether accommodation is possible or the conflict is zero-sum requiring one side's elimination or departure. If the Ark needs only specific resources and humans don't interfere, coexistence might allow both to survive. If Ark goals require total Earth control or human elimination, compromise is impossible and one side must lose completely. If the Ark seeks something humans possess or control, potential exists for negotiation and trade. The nature of Ark goals determines available strategic options beyond pure military resistance. The children growing up in Ark-controlled world develop psychology shaped by constant threat and knowledge that humanity no longer dominates its home world. This generation might view the Ark differently than adults who remember pre-invasion life. Children accept Ark presence as normal background reality, neither surprising nor particularly unjust. They might develop accommodation strategies, even collaborative relationships with the Ark if opportunities exist. Or they might harbor deeper hatred than adults, fury at being denied the world that should have been theirs. The next generation's attitudes toward the Ark will determine long-term human trajectory. The preservation of human knowledge and culture takes priority as uncertainty about human survival grows. If the Ark eliminates humanity, preserved knowledge might allow future intelligences to understand what existed before. If humanity survives in reduced form, preserved culture provides continuity with the past and foundation for eventual recovery. The Ark invasion forces humans to think about what defines humanity beyond biological bodies and social structures. Which ideas, values, and achievements matter enough to preserve at all costs? What is human essence that must survive, even if humanity as biological species doesn't? The comparison between the Ark and human resource extraction reveals uncomfortable parallels. Humans harvested Earth's resources with little regard for other species' welfare. Humans exterminated species that interfered with human goals. Humans displaced indigenous peoples who occupied desired territories. The Ark does to humans what humans did to countless other beings. This moral reflection forces questions about whether humans deserve the moral consideration they want from the Ark, given how humans treated others. The Ark might be justice, or karma, or simply the universe demonstrating that dominance is temporary and the powerful eventually meet those more powerful. The possibility of humanity surviving long enough to develop technology approaching Ark capability opens paths to eventual negotiated peace, or even victory. If human science and engineering continue advancing despite the invasion, eventually humans might field weapons and defenses that threaten the Ark meaningfully. The Ark's current advantage might be temporary based on head start in technological development that humans could eventually close. The question is whether humanity survives long enough to reach technological parity or near parity. The race between Ark operations completing and human technological development progressing determines ultimate outcomes. The role of hope in human resistance can't be ignored. Humans fight not just because tactical victories are possible, but because fighting provides meaning and dignity, even in likely defeat. The Ark might be unbeatable, but humans who resist assert their significance and refuse to accept erasure quietly. This existential defiance gives purpose to lives that otherwise would be merely hiding until inevitable end. The Ark can destroy humans physically, but can't eliminate the meaning humans create through resistance. This meaning might be humanity's ultimate victory, even in military defeat. The mystery of what the Ark truly is will probably never be fully resolved. Humans lack information and perhaps cognitive capacity to comprehend an intelligence so different from their own. The Ark might not translate into human concepts of purpose, morality, or existence. Humans project human categories onto the Ark, assuming it has goals, makes plans, and pursues objectives because that's how humans think. The Ark might operate in frameworks completely alien to human thought. This fundamental incomprehensibility makes the Ark terrifying not just through its physical threat, but through representing something beyond human ability to understand or predict. And on that note, the story of every Ark machine and their purposes connects to this larger existential mystery. Each tick hiding in shadows, each servo transmitting signals, each queen guarding harvesters, all serve an intelligence and purpose that remains ultimately opaque to human understanding. We analyze tactics and decode communications, and fight the machines we encounter, all while knowing we might never truly understand what we're fighting against, or why it came. The Ark Raiders continue their war not because victory is certain, or even likely, but because the alternative is acceptance of erasure. That refusal to accept extinction, that determination to fight, even against incomprehensible odds, might be the most human response possible to the Ark invasion. We fight, therefore we exist. And that existence has meaning even if the Ark never acknowledges it. Chapter 11. The Psychology of Fighting Machines. The mental and emotional challenges of fighting the Ark differ fundamentally from human versus human warfare. Traditional combat involves adversaries who feel pain, fear death, and possess moral considerations that might limit their actions. The Ark exhibits none of these characteristics. Ark machines don't fear, don't hesitate, don't suffer from morale problems, and don't question orders. This psychological asymmetry creates unique challenges for human raiders who must maintain fighting spirit against an enemy that never tires, never doubts, and never stops. Understanding these psychological dimensions is as important as understanding Ark tactics. The absence of fear in Ark machines eliminates psychological tactics that work against human opponents. Humans can be intimidated, demoralized, or scared into retreat. Demonstrating superior firepower or tactical brilliance might convince human enemies to withdraw or surrender. Ark machines process such demonstrations as tactical data, but experience no emotional response. A tick doesn't become afraid after watching other ticks die. A bastion doesn't lose confidence after defeats. This fearlessness means psychological victories against the Ark don't exist. Every engagement must end in physical destruction of Ark units or raider withdrawal. There's no middle ground where the Ark backs down. The relentlessness of Ark pursuit creates exhaustion that goes beyond physical fatigue. Raiders can rest their bodies, but struggle to rest their minds, knowing Ark machines never stop hunting. The Ark doesn't need sleep. It doesn't pause operations for night or bad weather, unless those conditions provide tactical advantages. This constant pressure wears down human psychology in ways traditional warfare doesn't. Soldiers fighting humans can sometimes rest behind lines, knowing the enemy also needs rest. Raiders facing the Ark never truly rest, because the Ark never stops. This psychological exhaustion accumulates over time, degrading decision-making and increasing mistakes. The dehumanization inherent in fighting machines affects raider psychology in complex ways. Some raiders find it easier to fight machines than humans because destroying machines carries no moral weight. There's no guilt about killing because machines aren't alive in the way humans are alive. This psychological comfort allows some raiders to fight more aggressively than they could against human opponents. Other raiders struggle with the existential dread of fighting an enemy that isn't really alive, finding something profoundly disturbing about machines that mimic intelligence without possessing humanity. The machine nature of the Ark either makes fighting easier or harder depending on individual psychology. The lack of communication or negotiation possibilities with the Ark frustrates raiders who wish conflict could be resolved through means other than violence. Human conflicts sometimes end through diplomacy, compromise, or mutual recognition of shared humanity. The Ark offers no such possibilities. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't acknowledge human appeals or arguments. It simply executes its programming or follows its goals with mechanical certainty. This impossibility of non-violent resolution forces raiders into endless combat, regardless of personal preferences about violence. The Ark's silence denies humans the opportunity to be heard or understood by their enemy. The anonymity of Ark machines makes victories feel hollow to some raiders. Destroying a specific bastion or leaper provides momentary satisfaction, but no sense of meaningful achievement. That particular machine held no individual identity, represented no particular enemy who can be specifically defeated. The Ark's faceless uniformity means raiders never face named opponents whose defeat matters personally. Every Ark unit is interchangeable with every other unit of the same type. This anonymity prevents the personal rivalries or meaningful victories that give combat psychological meaning in human conflicts. The observation that Ark machines sometimes seem to learn and adapt creates paranoia about whether individual machines remember previous encounters with specific raiders. Does a sentinel that survived an attack remember the raiders who attacked it? Does it communicate that information to other Ark units? Raiders who repeatedly operate in the same areas sometimes report feeling like the Ark knows them, adjusting tactics specifically for their team. This might be pattern recognition, where experienced raiders simply face Ark responses optimized for their known tactics. Or it might be genuine Ark learning, where the network identifies specific human adversaries and develops countermeasures. The uncertainty creates psychological pressure where raiders wonder if they're personally targeted. The dreams and nightmares of raiders reflect psychological trauma from fighting inhuman enemies. Many report dreams where Ark machines behave in ways they never do while awake, talking, laughing, displaying emotions that real Ark units lack. These dreams reveal the human mind struggling to process an enemy it can't fully comprehend through normal emotional frameworks. Other raiders dream of being transformed into machines themselves, losing humanity while gaining Ark's relentless efficiency. These transformation dreams suggest deep psychological fears about what fighting the Ark might do to human identity over time. The camaraderie among raiders provides crucial psychological support against the isolation of facing inhuman enemies. When fighting humans, adversaries share fundamental nature, even while in conflict. When fighting the Ark, only fellow humans understand what consciousness and life mean. This shared humanity among raiders becomes more precious and meaningful when facing enemies completely lacking those qualities. The bonds between raiders strengthen not just through shared danger, but through shared recognition that they're the only things on the battlefield that truly feel, suffer, and care. The question of whether Ark machines can be reasoned with haunts raiders who witness apparently intelligent behavior. When a surveyor runs away instead of fighting, is it making a rational decision about self-preservation? When hornets coordinate wasp attacks, are they thinking tactically or just executing programming? The boundary between genuine intelligence and sophisticated automation remains unclear. Some raiders believe the Ark possesses real intelligence deserving of moral consideration. Others view Ark machines as philosophical zombies, complex mechanisms without consciousness. This philosophical uncertainty affects how raiders feel about the destruction they inflict. The phenomenon of raiders naming specific Ark units reveals human need to personalize conflicts. A particularly dangerous sentinel might receive a nickname. A leaper that repeatedly evades destruction becomes known among local raiders. These names transform anonymous machines into individuals with identities, making engagements feel more meaningful. The psychological need to fight named enemies rather than faceless units drives this behavior. The Ark doesn't care about these names and doesn't name itself, but humans need the naming to maintain psychological coherence. Fighting that sentinel feels more meaningful than fighting a sentinel. The guilt experienced by some raiders about surviving when others die creates psychological wounds distinct from physical injuries. When a teammate dies to a tick ambush that you survived, the randomness creates survivor's guilt. Why did the tick target them instead of you? There's no answer because Ark targeting follows programmed priorities without moral dimension. This meaningless randomness of who lives and dies strips tragedy of even the comfort of understanding why. Deaths feel arbitrary, decided by algorithms and tactical calculations that care nothing for human value or meaning. This arbitrariness makes losses harder to process psychologically. The hope for eventual victory or Ark departure provides psychological sustenance that sustains resistance despite unlikely odds. Without hope, even small victories feel pointless. With hope, each Ark machine destroyed represents progress toward eventual liberation. The rationality of this hope matters less than its psychological function. Raiders need to believe their actions matter, that they're building towards something beyond endless fighting. The hope might be delusion, but it's psychologically necessary delusion that prevents despair. The Ark's patience and apparent inevitability make maintaining hope difficult, requiring conscious psychological effort. The anger directed at the Ark provides emotional fuel for continued resistance, but risks consuming raiders who let rage dominate their psychology. Anger at the Ark for destroying civilization, killing loved ones, and threatening human extinction motivates aggressive action. But anger without control leads to mistakes, unnecessary risks, and deaths that accomplish nothing. Raiders must balance anger that energizes resistance with rational tactical thinking that keeps them alive. The best raiders channel anger productively, while the worst let it drive them into suicidal fury. The Ark benefits from raider anger that becomes uncontrolled rage, reducing human effectiveness. The mourning rituals raiders develop for fallen comrades serve psychological functions that the Ark makes difficult.